sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. All right. Happy Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Sabs podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. If you're new, I do want to let you know that Sabs podcast is a part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. You can catch me there for the monthly roundtable, and you can find me here on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. I want to give a shout out to everyone watching on YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter, and welcome back, guys. We have a huge show tonight. There's so much that is happening right now. It was actually pretty difficult to choose stories for tonight's show because there's just a lot. There's a lot of chaos that is happening right now. But we're here and we're going to get through it because we do have a lot to get into. Tonight's theme is All Hell Breaks Loose. It's also, of course, the text that's on the thumbnail, but it fits all the stories tonight. So I want to go ahead and start out by giving shout outs to people in the chat, and we'll get this show on the road, ladies and gents. What is going on? Lots of chatters. Greetings. But Shiva says, hello, Sabby sister. Hope you are good. Hello and welcome. Shout out to Blockbuster says, hi. Greetings. Gypsy says, Sabby speaks truth to power always. Thank you. Shout out to Cloudness said, or actually I should pick this one because it's the member highlight. Shout out to Cloudness, who's been a member for 8 months, says, at this point, I don't believe anything these people say or do. It's all for cameras, smoke and mirrors. Please stop trying to gain sympathy. Scam RB1. And shout out to Cloudness for this one. Thank you for the super chat. Don't run towards the train, run away from it. Greetings, Lawrence says Cat Abu for Congress in Illinois 09. Shout out to Steinbar says Kevin Hart isn't funny. Okay. It's an interesting one. Greetings, Mika says, hey fam, I'm watching a conversation with Candace and Bassem Youssef on Candace show. It's 1 hour, 48 minutes. So I'm going to have to pause it when Sabby starts. It was live 2 hours ago. Bassem Youssef, I haven't seen him in a minute. It's been a while. Interesting. Shout out to CBC Voter says, happy Thursday, Sabby and Eric. What's up, CBC? Greetings, Silver Surfer says, peace, love, Sabby. Hello. Shout out to Fine Weather says, so ready for this. Greetings, Bill says, a lot of slappable faces in the thumbnail today. Ha, ha, ha. Greetings, Sabby says, looking forward to seeing what adorable outfit Sabby is wearing tonight. Oh, thank you. Shout out to Hannah says, we going to war, ? It looks like it. We'll get into that story, guys, but it does look like it. Greetings, Nat. The cat says, Bill Bobby, we should create a slappable faces dartboard. We'd be rich. Shout out to Gup1 says, Zios are pissed about Upscrolled. Yeah, I know. I've been seeing the rants on social media. Shout out to Mr. says, the best part of Nicki Minaj is her walking away. Greetings to Chuck says Stephen Miller exposed TMI. Shout out Sebastian says, hey y'all. And greetings. Lady Alex says greetings. Shout out to Mark says Sabby. All right, let's go ahead and dive in because we have a lot to get into tonight. So here we go. Let's go ahead and give a shout out to Sabby patrons, ladies and gents. Thank you guys so much for being a patron. And if you are interested in being a patron, I have 5 categories. We have the ultimate. Don't forget about the Sabinators. We also have a group called Sabsters. And of course, the one that I think a lot of people shout out is the Sabbies. What's going on with Sabbies? That's the most popular tier. For some reason, that's the most popular one. And of course, we want to give a shout out to members. All of their names are listed here, and you can also see their names scrolling across the bottom of the screen there on the ticker. And I want to give a shout out to new Sabby patrons. We call them newbies. Let's give it up for Dusalian, and and William Fussfield. Thank you and welcome. Welcome, welcome. That's right, ladies and gents. Tonight's theme is All Hell Breaks Loose. That's what we're getting into, folks, ladies and gents. So let's go ahead and take a look at that thumbnail so you can see what we are discussing tonight. Let's go ahead and get into it. Tonight, ladies and gents, we are discussing, here it is, front and center. Iran warns Donald Trump. Things are heating up in the Middle East. And unfortunately, it does look like at this point in time, a U.S. strike against Iran is inevitable at this point. Tensions are not dying down. There have been certain moves that have just been made recently that also point to that. So we're going to get into this. And I'm also going to discuss where China fits in all of this, because China is also delivering statements that they are watching very, very closely what happens to Iran. So essentially, we have ourselves a potential World War III that could come from this. We're also going to discuss Nicki Minaj met Donald Trump at the Trump summit, and it looks like she got what she was looking for, folks. It looks like Nicki Minaj is on her way to be having a fast track to becoming a citizen in the United States. We're going to get into that story. I told you she wanted something out of this. That's why she was kissing up to Donald Trump. We're also going to discuss leaked audio and video from Turning Point USA meetings of Erika Kirk, apparently not too long after Charlie Kirk was killed, that does raise some red flags. What was she focused on at that point in time? We're going to get into that. We're also going to discuss, with a connection to that story, this recent statement that was made on, I think his name is Stu Peters, made on his show from another person who was a representative in the Arizona State House, who said that they believe that TPUSA is Mossad. We're going to get into all of that. We're also going to discuss, if you hadn't heard by now, Stephen Miller has been thrown under the bus by Kristi Noem. And we are going to break down who Stephen Miller actually is, because he's not just some guy who just says like these hateful messages. Stephen Miller, this goes way back, and I'm going to tell you what his real agenda is here with ICE, because it's not just about ICE. So we're going to get into all of that and who he's been around, and those connections also to TPUSA. I think people are starting to connect the dots here. And we're also going to discuss, this one is kind of flying under the radar. Netanyahu just gave another speech about Israel's economy and also the future of Gaza. And I really do feel like corporate media is ignoring this speech. I think with everything else that is going on, especially with Iran, people have started to turn their head away from Gaza, which is what I was afraid of. But you need not look away, right? There's still things that are happening there. And this speech is very, very telling. And we have a bonus story. Last but not least, ladies and gents, I told you we would do part 2 of that food series. So tonight's segment for the food series is about what is in your food. Last time we talked about Walmart. You guys know what Walmart was doing, how they were overcharging for meat. The scale didn't depict what it said on the label. So you're actually paying more for less pounds of meat. Shrinkflation, some people call it. But tonight we're going to dive into what organic really means, if some of these foods that are labeled organic are actually organic, or you're just paying more money for nothing. And we're going to talk about the ingredients that are in your food. And I think this is going to lead to a lot of things where we look at a lot of diseases or increase in childhood diseases that just didn't seem to be there when I was growing up as a kid. I think at the end of the day, a lot of this goes back to your environment, and it goes back to the food, what's in our food. So again, the theme is all hell breaks loose. Why don't you go ahead and start us off? Like, if you haven't done so, please smash that like button. Thank you. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share, just like a Care Bear. Let's go ahead and get into this first story, ladies and gentlemen. So just recently this week, Benjamin Netanyahu gave a presentation of sorts, and he also made a speech along with this that I think a lot of people need to pay close attention to. Now, he also recently said that he wants to move away from the dependence on the United States. He wants Israel to move away from U.S. dependence within 10 years. But there's a reason for that. So we're going to start with the economic statement first, and then we're going to get into what he says about the future of Gaza. And it should send a red flag to everyone because all these politicians are lying to you, whether it's about this Trump Gaza plan or whatever. You need to hear what Netanyahu is saying. It's a shame. A lot of people did not cover the story, mainly corporate media. But you can see this right here. We're going to get started with the economic portion of this presentation. Right here, he is talking about Israel's debt to GDP ratio. Everyone pay close attention to this.
Let's look at what happened. This is 2002, 2003. Israel was right here. I had the good fortune of steering it into a free market economy. You can see what happens. The debt to GDP ratio goes down and stays down. But look at what happens in the other economies. Look at the USA, shoots up. Look at the advanced economies, Europe and others, goes up. This is the health, the vibrancy of Israel's economy.
So does everybody see what is going on here with the debt to GDP ratio? Netanyahu just showed you that when you compare Israel to the other countries in the West, in particular the United States, they are remaining steady and we are not. This is debt to GDP ratio. Now, part of this has to do with the fact that we give them resources, right? We provide resources to Israel. We give $3.8 billion a year to Israel. And that was prior to October 7th anyway. So we're giving everything to them, but look at where we are on that chart. So their economy, according to these numbers, is remaining steady, even post October 7th, but ours is not. So once again, this goes to show you this is what happens when you don't take care of people right here at home and you send those resources abroad. They're doing just fine. And I also believe this is part of the reason why he said he wants to move away from U.S. dependency within 10 years, because number one, they pretty much have everything that they need. And number two, they can always lean on other countries for that. One of them in particular that they're looking at is India. They're looking at going to India for help. Let's continue on a little bit more here.
And it really didn't change because of the war. It really didn't change. It's an amazingly resilient economy. Next. This is the unemployment rate. Goes down, 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 and goes down. Keeps on going.
Israel's unemployment rate is steadily going down over the years. Now, this graph starts with 2009, bringing them all the way to 2025. The United States unemployment rate has increased. You see what I mean when I say foreign policy is domestic policy? They're doing a lot better than we are here, and we're helping them out, but we're not helping our own people here. That's the unemployment rate.
People have jobs. They'll continue to have jobs. Next. This is how much, this is, I'm putting this up, the electricity prices in Israel, because it's a reflection of a great reform that we did, which is getting natural gas out of the sea. And what it does is it pushes Israel to this end. We have cheap energy.
So do you see what I mean? When it comes to the electricity prices, Israel is at the lower end. They're not paying as much for electricity as we are in the United States. So their electricity prices are still lower than ours. You see what I'm saying? So this is why I say, no, these policies have not been America first. They've been Israel first. So I'm glad that he did this presentation so I could show people just how this really impacts us here. Now we're going to go to the tech company portion of this economic speech. Most major tech companies that have the largest R&D centers outside of the U.S. are located in Israel. So look at this.
Well, this is clearly the winner, the United States, naturally. This is an absolute prices, 2023. Let me tell you that our indications for 2024, that it's considerably higher for Israel than what it was in 2023. So I don't have yet the results for 2024, but the early indications are it's considerably larger. So the first country in the world receiving foreign investments for R&D is the United States. And the second country receiving investments for R&D in absolute terms is Israel.
See?
And the third country is Germany, which is 10 times our size in population, roughly, okay? And it's it's actually considerably smaller than Israel. And down it goes, UK, France, and so on. This is a very powerful economy.
See? So when it comes to the tech companies, they are right after the United States. Because I'm glad he did this presentation, because this proves my point that they don't need our help. They are fine. The numbers for us are not good. The unemployment rate is not good. The energy prices compared to them is not good. You guys are paying more for electricity. We have a higher unemployment rate. We have college graduates that can't find jobs, despite what politicians may tell you. That's a reality right here in this country, because all the presidents that have been around in my lifetime did not invest in the people right here. They spend so much money bombing countries abroad, giving money to Israel, patting Wall Street on the back, but they never helped out the people. So what has happened is that Israel has been able to develop a growing, prosperous economy, and we are on the decline. And part of me believes this is intentional. Remember what I told you about that prediction that came from Professor Jing, where he was saying that his prediction is that a lot of the tech is going to eventually end up in Israel. Well, now you see they're right behind us. Eventually, the prediction is that they will be the source of power will be right there in Israel. So everyone has to pay attention. It goes on to one more part here.
It's an economy of 10 million people, but they're very gifted people, amazingly gifted. So let's look at the next point. This is our defense industry budgets, which I spoke about yesterday. The defense industry is very strong. This is record exports, $15 billion. But, here's the but. Everything else is basically controlled by market forces. There's a global economy, and people have an opportunity to get on board. And that's my message to all the investors. Get on board now.
Now that was defense. Now let's look at defense again. This is what I want to show you. Over the years, this is billions of dollars. They have continued to increase defense money. Now, this is the money that is coming in from a lot of us. Look at this. If you go all the way back, let's go back before October 7th, even in 2022, $12.5 billion. It increases over time. Let me get him out the way. Move. Over time. In 2014, they were getting $5.7 billion. Look at where they are now. You see how it continued to increase? This is very, very alarming. This is what I've been trying to tell people for the longest time. They don't really need us. The United States basically sees Israel. And I said before, I feel like it's basically a military base in the Middle East. It's a U.S. military base in the Middle East. That's really what I believe Israel is. But our money's going out the door to them, and we're having a lot of problems here. Now, I know a number of people say, well, Benjamin Netanyahu lies a lot. Yeah, he does. But if you look at the numbers across the board, they are not struggling there the way that people are struggling here in the United States. Yes, they get cheaper electricity than us, and they keep getting an increase in defense. It's very clear who needs help and who does not need help. And that brings me to the next part of this speech where he gave here. For whatever reason, and I told you this before, when he talks about certain things, sometimes he'll talk in English, other times he'll talk in Hebrew. When he starts talking about the plan for Gaza, he's speaking in Hebrew. Remember what I told you? That means he's really speaking directly to them. But there is a translator here, so thank goodness. You need to hear what he says is next for Gaza. And it's not what Trump is saying. It's not what the Biden administration said. It's not, none of these politicians are telling you the truth. And there's one part in particular that you need to pay attention to when he talks about a state for Palestine. So listen to this.
Now we are focusing on completing the two remaining tasks to disarm Hamas and to disarm Gaza and destroy the tunnels. There are only two options. Either it will be done the easy way or it will be done the hard way. But in any case, it will happen. I'm hearing now, too, people saying that we should allow the rebuilding of Gaza before the demilitarization. That will not happen. I hear that people are saying that Turkish and Qatari soldiers will be allowed in. That will not happen either. I say some people are saying that this will be a Palestinian state in Gaza. It hasn't happened and it won't happen. And everyone knows that the one who stopped the establishment of a Palestinian state was me and my fellow cabinet ministers.
So that's the part that's really important for people to hear. He is telling you there is not going to be any rebuilding in Gaza as long as Hamas is armed. That will not happen until after they disarm. So remember that when you hear these statements coming from Jared Kushner, when you hear it coming from Donald Trump. The other part that's important, there will not be a Palestinian state. Now, he said this before in the past. I don't know why people pretend like this is going to happen when it's not going to happen, as he's made it very clear. It's not going to become a Palestinian state. I'll play the rest of the part in just a second, where he goes on to say that Israel is going to control all of it, which means the Palestinian people are still going to be occupied. Now, I wanted you to hear that for this reason. Hear me very loud and clear. Anytime you hear a politician say that we need to have a Palestinian state, we need to move to a two-state solution, you need to know these people are fooling you. They are not telling you the truth. They already know that that is not going to happen under the Likud party. They know this. I don't know how many times Benjamin Netanyahu has to say this for all Americans to truly understand this. Every politician, and I don't care if they're Republican, Democrat, Independent, any politician that you see on TV saying, well, ideally, we need to move towards a two-state solution, these people are gaslighting you. They know that that is already off the table. They have been known it is off the table. You need to remember this now that we're in the midterms, and come 2028, don't forget it. Because I think we're going to hear a lot of these presidential candidates say we got to move towards a two-state solution. It's a gimmick. It's a game. They're gaslighting. They already know it's not going to happen. So you got to push back on them about that. Now listen to this part.
Today and tomorrow, we will not allow it. Israel will control the entire area from the Jordan to the sea militarily, and that is true in the Gaza Strip too.
Well. And this is what we've been saying for the longest time. When Jared Kushner talked about this rebuild and he was showing, there will be residential housing here and there, etc., they make it look like this new project is going to be great. What they don't tell you is that Israel will still occupy Gaza. The Palestinian people are not going to be free. Here he is saying it again, very blatantly, very clearly, to let you know they are not leaving Gaza. Any politician who tells you that they are is gaslighting you. So I don't care how many times he sits down with Donald Trump and says, yes, we're going to work on this. I don't care about that. When he speaks to his people and he's speaking in Hebrew, he has his own agenda, his own plan. And Donald Trump knows this too. So what we will not do is we will not sit here and allow everybody to be gaslit into thinking that this two-state solution is going to happen because they're trying to rebuild Gaza. Israel is not going to leave Gaza. They're still going to occupy it. Let's look at what he said here. I want to show you what he means when we look at this map. River to the sea. I'm going to show you the map and the charts. So here's the river, the Jordan River, and here's the sea, the Mediterranean Sea. That includes Gaza. That includes the West Bank. All of this, they will eventually take. And I know, Donald Trump told him you cannot annex the West Bank. But again, it's just more gaslighting. They all know the plan. And if they didn't want the plan, they would not work alongside Israel and support them. That's what he means. Now, we know that he's already gone into Lebanon. We know they've already gone into Syria and started occupying part of Syria. When we look at the Greater Israel Project map, that also includes part of Jordan. So it's actually past the sea. We know they're in the West Bank. We know these things. They want all of this. Let's go on a little bit more here. You can see the change over time. I think we showed this the first time, probably like 3 years ago on this show, how the land occupation has evolved over time. At one point, all of that green part was Palestine. And you just see like how much land was taken away, taken away, taken away. And that's how you get what you have now. Israel is not going to leave just those 2 spots there and say, whoop-de-doo, right? And then we look at this here, the Greater Israel map. So we can see there's Egypt. You see this? That's the idea of the new Middle East. They want all of it. So Benjamin Netanyahu is never going to let the Palestinian people have a state. Politicians in the U.S. know this. And politicians in other countries know this. They all know this. So the next time that you hear people say, oh, we're going to work towards a 2-state, shut that down because they are lying to you. And for Benjamin Netanyahu to make this statement, this speech, right after the whole layout, the whole plan of rebuilding in Gaza, right after he joins the peace board, which he's a part of too as well, along with war criminal Tony Blair, for him to then step aside and make this speech, which is the exact opposite of what he said when he was there with Donald Trump, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Right now, all hell has broken loose. They're not going to let these people live peacefully, and everyone needs to understand that. The board of peace is just a board of war. We are living during a time where the Trump administration has managed to convince people that peace means war. They changed the name of the Department of the Defense to the Department of War, but they're telling you they're giving you peace. And people are actually believing this. And it's the same narrative that is peddled by Benjamin Netanyahu. When Benjamin Netanyahu talks about peace, his idea of peace is removing the Palestinian people because he does not believe that there can be peace with them there. Their idea of peace and our idea of peace, it's 2 different things. And that's what people have to understand. So the board of peace is the board of war and displacement. That's what it is. And there is no real peace. And shockingly enough, again, like I said, I checked a lot of media, especially corporate media, and I'm noticing this conversation was not, was not reported in a lot of places that it should have been. So they are turning their eye away from Gaza. And this is when it gets even more scary, because when people aren't paying attention, that's when even worse things can happen. So we got to pay attention, guys. Let's go to some of the comments here, ladies and gents. All right. Thank you for the super chat, Roger. Upscrolled is more X replacement than TT. I think you mean TikTok. Thank you, January. So they're done leeching off us and want to move on to the next host. Not at all surprising. Yeah, and India is one of those countries that they're looking at. Part of that has to do with tech too as well. Thank you, EcoPup. How long will Upscrolled remain in the Play Store before Zio Google removes it? It's a good point. I mean, it's there now. It's there now, so we'll see. Thank you, Logically. If Israel's economy is supposedly this good, why do we fund their way of life, healthcare, education, etc.? I don't completely believe these numbers because that's what was promised, right? Again, like I said, Israel is basically a U.S. military outpost. The United States government sees Israel as a positive because all the other countries in the region, like when they say Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East, it's like, it's funny because Israel doesn't have a constitution. But what they're really saying is they don't want the other Arab countries to get control of those resources. That's why they want Israel there. Joe Biden kind of gave the game away when he said, if Israel didn't exist, we would create one. So there you go. Thank you, Larry. This guy up here bragging about how good they are doing using resources given from taxpayers here while saying how bad we are doing. Bragging about it too. Yeah, you're right. Thank you, Logically. Check the new Kneecap song, Liar's Tale, that calls out Keir Starmer as Netanyahu's bitch, genocide armor, and better off as compost for farmers. I'll have to check it out. Thank you, Roger. Great. U.S. government can now stand on its own. So now you can remove your aid. Nope. It's the other way. DP is FP. Domestic policy is foreign policy. A robust domestic policy autocorrects foreign policy. And thank you, Logically. War is Peace is straight out of 1984. Thank you, Adrian. How exactly do we push back against this, Sabby? Well, when you hear these politicians, like, I don't know if you guys ever go to their town halls or anything like that, but whether it's your mayor, whether it's your city councilors, like when you hear these politicians say that we're going to work towards a two-state solution, you have to correct that. You have to shut that down and say, no, you're lying. And it's okay to do that. Listen, I've been past the days of being politically correct with politicians. I've been past these days. These people are gaslighting. These people are lying. So when you see them say these things, you can call them out. If you don't feel comfortable doing that in person, you can definitely call them out on social media too and say, why are you lying? They all know the game. Thank you, Measured Man. In my opinion, I think a lot of the funding is money laundering. Interesting. And thank you, Nat. Happy 50th anniversary to Buckley v. Vallejo. 50 years of money equals an individual's unlimited free speech. Thank you so much for that. All right, we're moving on to the next story. Moving and grooving. All righty. Smash the like button if you haven't done so. And let's keep this show on the road. Some people are opportunists. A couple of weeks ago, when Nicki Minaj said that she cared about the Christians in Nigeria, and I called that out and I said, it's interesting. She never said anything about the Christians that were killed in Israel or anywhere else. I told people that she was looking out for herself, that there was something that she wanted. She put those statements out there because she knew that it would get attention. And more importantly, it would get Donald Trump's attention. And it did. Just recently, she was at Donald Trump's summit and she did get up on the stage and she did speak. It was embarrassing. But in the end, she got something out of it. Apparently all these years, and many people have looked this up, I looked it up as well, but apparently all these years, because Nicki Minaj has been here since she was a kid, she never became a U.S. citizen. And so she was able to get a fast track out of this kissing up to Donald Trump. And it also makes me wonder if she's going to go for that pardon too. Whether it's for her brother or for her husband. I have to see if either one of those situations was federal, because I don't think the president can pardon state charges. But it makes me wonder if she's going to go for that as well. But Nicki is looking out for Nicki. Let's go ahead and bring this in here.
We're also pleased. My daughter, she went crazy when she heard that this was happening. I want to go. She happens to be in the wrong state right now for that. But when she heard that there's a certain person that's here who's the greatest and most successful female rapper in history, Nicki Minaj. Come on. And, and Nicki makes a lot of cash. Not as much as Michael Dell. Not quite. Not as much. But that's okay. But Nicki makes a lot of money, and she's generously stepping up. She's investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in Trump accounts to support the children and really the children of her incredible fans. That's great. Focus on that. Why should you give to somebody else's fans? Give to your fans. I like that. But and I just think she's great. I've been hearing so much over the years because I didn't know Nicki, and I've been hearing over the years she's a big Trump supporter and a Trump fan, and she took a little heat on occasion. Her community isn't necessarily. I tell you, we did pretty damn well with that, with your community, as we say. But Nicki has been an unbelievable supporter. She gets almost as much as Mr. Wonderful over here. He's been another one that's been so good. But I'd like to ask you to come up, Nicki. Come on up. Come on. She's been such a great supporter and a great supporter of Trump accounts. And I said, I'm going to let my nails grow because I love those nails. I'm going to let those nails grow.
See, this is what Donald Trump does. This is how he, it's like he warms people up. Like he'll give some type of compliment. Nicki Minaj has really long nails. This is kind of how he kind of warms people up and all these things, right? So for those who are not aware, Nicki Minaj, she's a female rapper. She has like a group of followers. I think they call them like Barbs or whatever. Like she came onto the scene kind of like as this Barbie doll look. They made her into what they wanted her to be, meaning by they, I mean the record company. They gave her body jobs. They did things to her cosmetically to make her look like their creation. Because I saw Nicki Minaj rapping before she got a record deal, and this is a completely different person. So they made her look like something that they said would sell. And Nicki Minaj, for years, a lot of her fan base has been people who are LGBTQ, liberal, that type of vibe. Like she always got a lot of love from the LGBTQ community. But as time goes on, with a lot of musicians, you have your heydays and then eventually someone new comes out and then people are flocking to the new star, right? They're not looking at you as much anymore. So the sales and all those things start to go down. This happened with every artist, I think. Over time, you just get to that point. She found a way to make herself relevant again, right? I hear Rock Nation is also coming after her financially. Like there's a number of things that are going on. And then there's the legal situation with her husband. And I really do believe someone did say it in the chat that her husband's charge was federal. So if her husband's case was federal, then I would also assume she may be trying to get a pardon from Donald Trump for her husband. So let's go on here.
She's so good. She's been MAGA. What can I say? She's been with us all the way, right, Alex? She's been with us all the way, and just want to thank her. And it wasn't so easy. For you, it was easier, right? You want to come up? You want to come up? Mr. Wonderful, come on up here. You've been terrific. Come on up.
Oh, and by the way, some of Trump's supporters aren't happy either. He's been getting some backlash after people found out that she wasn't a citizen.
Hello. Well, I don't know what to say, but I will say that I am probably the president's #1 fan. And that's not going to change. And the hate, or what people have to say it does not affect me at all. It actually motivates me to support him more. And it's going to motivate all of us to support him more. We're not going to let them get away with bullying him and, the smear campaigns. It's not going to work, okay? He has a lot of force behind him, and God is protecting him. Amen.
It's funny. Excuse me. It's funny because she was one of those people too. I'm going to show you in just a second. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's stay right here.
Yeah, and then she stands there, of course, for the photo op. Nicki Minaj is doing something similar to what Amber Rose did. I give it a couple of, maybe a year or two, and she'll be forgotten about as well. That's what happened with Amber Rose. Amber Rose decided to go over to the Trump side of things. They let her speak at the RNC, and she gave the speech and everything. And then she went and did interviews as to why she decided to go to the Trump side. And now you don't hear about her anymore. It's just like, it's obvious what she's doing this for. And I'm going to show you because she brags about it too. It's not even just like a guess. But when Donald Trump said she makes a lot of cash, people were pointing out, look at who she's sitting next to. Watch this.
And Nicki makes a lot of cash. Not as much as Michael Dell. Not quite. Not as much. But that's okay.
Did you guys see who this guy is? Let me go back a little bit. Hold on. See this guy right here? That's the guy from Shark Tank. That's one of the hosts from Shark Tank. Yeah. These are all people who like money. They just don't want you to have money. So this is who these are all the people she's sitting with. But you see.
Not quite. Not as much. But that's okay. But Nicki makes a lot of cash.
Yeah. So it's just so it's so obvious. And then when we get to the next part here, you'll see she met with the auto workers in the Oval Office. And look at this. Trump goes on to say they forgot I was here for just a second. So now she's meeting with the auto workers.
Good to see you. Great.
See, they forgot I was here now. They came in for
We
Trump.
still love you, Mr. President.
Where did that go, fast? Hello, my
Yep, there she walked. There she is. She's walking on in there and everything. So you guys see the game, right? Then she brags about it. Right here. Wu-Tang is for the children said, well, it looks like all that Trump ass kissing has worked out for Nicki Minaj. He gave her one of those 1 million Trump gold card that grants her expedited permanent U.S. residency and a pathway to citizenship. So she shared it here. She said, welp, and there's that. Remember when Donald Trump came up with those gold cards so that people could have a fast track to citizenship? There you go. So, like I said, she wanted something out of this, right? So there you go. And then she goes on to say here, residency, ? Residency, the cope is coping, finalizing that citizenship paperwork as we speak, as per my wonderful, gracious, charming president. Thanks to the petition, I wouldn't have done it without you. Oh, citizen Nika, you are the moment. Gold Trump card free of charge. And she puts the Chucky thing here with the with the finger up in the air. So this is one of the things I think that pissed people off on social media, because they were like, wait, she's not a US citizen? No. So you see how people just jump on things and they don't stop and think. And now I heard people say all this stuff about people who did not come to the country legally, and they're clapping and dancing for Nicki Minaj, but Nicki Minaj was not. So it's just all about who kisses Donald Trump's ass. Now we can go back to that moment where she admitted that. From Trinidad to Queens, Nicki Minaj's immigration story, Trump ties, and gold card We go on here. Let me bring this down here. What we know, I'm going to make this larger for you guys. Here we go. What we know. Nicki Minaj, one of the most commercially successful female rappers of all time, posted an image of the card on X this week with the caption, "Well," prompting widespread speculation about whether she is a U.S. citizen and how her recent political alignment with Donald Trump began. He goes on to say the Grammy-nominated artist has not said whether she has already obtained citizenship. Several years ago, however, Nicki Minaj publicly described herself as having entered the United States illegally as a child. "I just got tired of being pushed around. Then you realize I have something inside of me that's stronger than what's out there. In a world that doesn't want us to think, we will think by ourselves on our own." That's what she said at Turning Point USA event. Here's that question that everybody keeps asking. Is Nicki Minaj a U.S. citizen? So let's go on here. You know what? She does kind of look like Cardi B there. I just took another look at it. Like the way her hairstyle, it does kind of look like the style that Cardi B does. I just realized, yeah. It goes on to say, Minaj has not confirmed that she is a U.S. citizen, and neither she nor the White House have released documentation clarifying her status. But it was this Facebook post that she posted in 2018 under Donald Trump's first term, where she said, "I came to this country as an illegal immigrant at 5 years old. I can't imagine the horror of being in a strange place and having my parents stripped away from me at the age of 5. This is so scary to me. Please stop this. Can you try to imagine the terror and panic these kids feel right now?" So remember when the kids were in the cages under Trump's presidency? That's what she was referring to. So there's the picture there. That's that resurfaced 2018 Facebook post. More recently, Minaj said she's on a path towards legal citizenship after displaying the Trump branded immigration card. What is the Trump Gold card? Goes on to say here, it was part of that immigration initiative prompted by the White House that allows foreign nationals to become immediately eligible for permanent resident status. And under that program, cardholders may apply for full U.S. citizenship after 5 years. So it is a fast track, right? Like I know people that it took them 10 years to get citizenship in the United States, you know? So it's not a fast process. And depending on what country you came from, the process can be even like slower, to be honest with you. But this is what people are screaming hypocrisy about, because people are saying, wait a minute now. Like she said that about the kids in the cages. She said she came to the U.S. illegally, but now you out here kissing the ass of the president who's going after people who are here illegally. And it just goes to show you how she flipped to get what she wanted. And it brings up that question about that pardon. And this is another one that I've been going to as well. People know, for those of you who don't know, one of the issues is her husband. Her husband went to jail for accused sexual assault with a weapon. Ideally, I'm going to say this as politely as I can for YouTube, but I think about how to say that. Okay. As politely for YouTube. Basically, to make a long story short, he held a weapon to a woman's throat. And what people believe is that this switch for Nicki, because, you know, Trump has been giving pardons to people, could also lead down that path, that she wants to get a pardon for her husband. Now she got the fast track to citizenship. And some people were wondering, they were like, well, she's been here since she was 5. How is it that I don't know? I don't know. Don't ask me. But I do know that since this has come out, some of the people that supported Trump, now that they know this information, have also kind of ranted at Trump on social media, like, what the hell is this? And then some of Nicki's fans are like, yeah, I'm not fans with you anymore. You know, so people have been attacking both of them. But ideally, this isn't even about like Nicki being a Trump supporter or whatever. This is about Nicki kissing ass to get something for herself. Period. Let's go to some of the comments, ladies and gents. Eric, can we go to part 2 of Type VNC? Thank you. All right. Thank you for the super chat, Devotion Orange. So grateful for you, Eric and Corey. All right. Thanks. Thank you, Courtney. Wait, Nicki wasn't a naturalized citizen? You mean Chat GPT lied to me the whole time last week? SMH. We don't know. It's like she won't talk about what her status really was, but we do know that she wasn't a U.S. citizen. So she said she came into the country illegally. I don't know what it was after that, but she said she's not a U.S. citizen. Thank you, Larry. Nicki been trying to cross over to the other side since that title deal went bad. She has 0 ownership in her catalog. Sold 1 million. It's interesting. Always comes back to money. Thank you, Measured Man. You know, it's crazy. It's like he playing in our face. The producer in the Epstein files produced Melania's movie. Ain't that a bitch? The Melania movie is hilarious to me. I'm sorry. It is just hilarious. Thank you, Clarissa. Mariah Carey had problems with Nicki on American Idol. Whitney Houston, who put her in check. Whitney. Thank you, Roger. Sab, this is why I take the position if you're here illegally, especially over decades, whether your visa expired or you came illegally and never bothered to start the process towards citizenship, then you gotta go. And thank you, Michael. U.S. Senate in Minnesota, please contact. U.S. Senate in Minnesota, please contact. Okay, I think I can do that, Michael. I don't know who you want me to contact in the U.S. Senate, but I can try to do that. So, yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next story, ladies and gents. This is where it gets kind of dirty and kind of muddy, okay? All hell has officially broken loose. This whole DHS debacle has gone to a level I couldn't even have imagined. There are now calls for Kristi Noem to resign. And Kristi Noem is pointing her finger at Donald Trump and Stephen Miller, throwing them under the bus. Kristi Noem made a decision that she is not going to go down alone. And that is because a lot of people were pointing fingers at her because she is Homeland Security. That's her role. So now she's throwing them under the bus. I'm going to get into what this really means for Stephen Miller and what's this really all about, because we're going to do a mini deep dive into him so that you can see what his ulterior motive really is. It's not just about immigration. Stephen Miller has been problematic going all the way back to when he was in high school. So we're going to go through all of that, fam. But it started here with Tom Tillis. Tom Tillis, apparently, I don't know, maybe he had a drink or two before they asked him this question. But Tom Tillis, who is Republican, really went after Kristi Noem here. Listen to this.
But then think that we can move on before this has been adjudicated.
Senator, do you have confidence in Secretary Noem?
None at all. No, she's. I've tried to maintain confidence. But look, I've done and we'll be sharing this information. We've done a Trump 1, Trump 2 comparison of disaster relief. There's no comparison whatsoever. Trump 1 was right on with disaster recovery. You think about Matthew and Florence, and this one. She's not even handling the other part of her job. I mean, at one point she thought FEMA should be eliminated. To give you an idea of how incompetent I think she is, she actually thought FEMA should be eliminated. And when she had a FEMA director said he didn't think that was a good idea, she fired him within 24 hours. Now she understands that is an important part of her job. These are like amateurish assistant manager sort of thought processes going into somebody who's a secretary in a cabinet level position. It's unacceptable.
Does she need to?
So he is saying that Kristi Noem made amateur level decisions. Oh my God. Everyone's pointing fingers. It's your fault. It's your fault. You're going under the bus. You're going under the bus. Everybody is going under the bus.
Step down. Does she need to?
Stephen Miller is in the same boat. This guy, after doing the stupid comments he made about Greenland getting the president, in a difficult circumstance, is one of the people that came out publicly and said that this guy was a terrorist before he had even talked with anybody on the ground. And that's clearly not the case now. So, I mean, it's just, I mean, Stephen Miller never fails to live up to my expectations of incompetence.
Why do you think he should be fired?
I'm going to leave that up to the president. I can tell you, if I were president, neither one of them would be in Washington right now.
But do you think Noam should step down?
I think Noam needs to decide what, I think if Noam looks at her body of work, I could not be. If I were in her position, I can't think of any point of pride over the last year. She's got to make her own decision, or the president does. But she has taken this administration into the ground on an issue that we should own. We should own the issue of border security and immigration, but they have destroyed that for Republicans. Something that got the president elected, they have destroyed it through their incompetence.
Well, tell us how you really feel there. So it all started with that. And now there are calls for Kristi Noem to resign. And so as you'll see here, this is what's going around the interwebs. Kristi Noem is increasingly under fire from Congress and is now blaming Trump and Stephen Miller for her actions. And here it is here. Everything I've done at the direction of the president and Stephen. This is what she apparently said to Axios. So do you see how they're throwing? She's like, she's like, you're not just going to wave your finger at me. I did what they told me to do. And that brings me to Stephen. Stephen right now, this is the big one. He has been iced out of Trump's DHS cleanup. I swear to gosh, this is just too hilarious. Stephen Miller was reportedly shut out of a closed-door White House meeting on Monday after a second U.S. citizen was killed by a federal agent in Minnesota. This triggered a national outcry over federal immigration enforcement. The 2-hour meeting that was held at the request of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem came amid growing backlash against the Trump officials seen as responsible for the chaos. That includes Noem, Miller, and Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino. All right. So there they all are there. Noem and her de facto chief of staff and alleged lover, Corey, I swear to God, this is a soap opera, Lewandowski, met with Trump 79 amid mounting calls for her resignation after she falsely labeled an ICU nurse, Alex Preddy, a domestic terrorist. So now everybody's pointing fingers, ladies and gentlemen. Miller, who has reportedly turned against Kristi Noem and blamed her for the fallout in Minnesota, was absent from the meeting, a move that marks a stunning reversal for the White House as it seeks to distance itself from the zero-tolerance immigration policies he helped craft. So, yeah, this is a disaster, guys. Like, this is embarrassing, right? And it made me look a little deeper at Stephen Miller. And I think you're going to want to see this. Who is Stephen Miller? Where did Stephen Miller come from? What has been his ultimate agenda, right? Because it's not just about immigration. So we're going to do a little mini dive into who he actually is. Let's go ahead and bring this up here. Let's start from early childhood, right? So he grew up in an affluent neighborhood in Santa Monica, California. His grandparents, they were part of the Russian pogroms, so they escaped the Russian pogroms and the Holocaust. His mom went to Columbia University. Here we go, another one with Columbia University. Remember the height of those encampments? And let's get into this part here about the high school. Because, see, this didn't come out of nowhere. In 1999, he began attending Santa Monica High School. Miller opposed his high school's chapter of the Chicano student movement. If you highlight over here, it says MECHA, MECA, is a U.S.-based organization that seeks to promote Chicano unity and empowerment through political action. So this goes back to high school and was described by the chapter founder as having taunted immigrants. He reportedly insisted to other students and teachers that they speak English. Then we fast forward to Larry Elder. Of course, it was Larry Elder who really gave him recognition and gave him some type of prominence, right? He called in to Larry Elder's talk show. He appeared there after the September 11 attacks, right? So it really is, if you're not happy, if you despise Stephen Miller and you're tired of him and his loony ass wife, you really got to point your finger at Larry Elder. Larry Elder was the one who put Stephen Miller on the map. Let's go on more here. Now, let's fast forward to college because we're making a case here, right? David Horowitz, conservative writer David Horowitz, he heard Stephen Miller on Larry Elder's show. And he started then to develop a long-term relationship with Stephen Miller, who invited him to speak at his high school. I'll get into who David Horowitz is in just a second. Because when we get to Duke, Miller began attending Duke University in 2003 to study political science. Get this. In 2004, he became outraged at Duke's decision to schedule a Palestine Solidarity Movement conference. Miller found the university's chapter of Horowitz Students for Academic Freedom and rallied students to oppose the conference. So once he started that relationship with David Horowitz, they decided to start this organization at Duke University, basically as a way at first to push back on the Palestine Solidarity Movement. So this goes all the way back for Stephen Miller. He's always been this way. Now, let me go on more so you can see where a lot of this is coming from. We go here. The following year, he was the author of a column in the Duke Chronicle, Duke student paper titled Miller Time. Miller continued to critique multiculturalism. You see this? His combative debate strategy, particularly in his column, earned Miller a reputation for pugnancy. Miller invited Horowitz to speak at Duke, who in turn named Miller to lead the Terrorism Awareness Project. This was an initiative that conflated Muslims and Arabs with terrorists. Miller appeared on Fox and Friends starting in 1998 to promote it. This is very important for people to see. One of the reasons why Stephen Miller is so gung-ho about the ICE efforts, it really goes back to Islam. He's anti-Muslim. He goes as far as to say that all Muslims and Arabs are terrorists. That's who Stephen Miller is. He has issue with multiculturalism, right? So when you have people, and this is something Ben Shapiro needs to acknowledge, but he won't. When you have people like Stephen Miller become a part of your movement who are just blatantly racist, and then you want to cry like a baby, or you want people to feel pity or sympathy for you after what happened on October 7th, well, it's people like Ben Shapiro and the rest of them that opened the door and allowed that Stephen Miller stuff to come in. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can't have it both ways. You can't have it where you sit up here and you say, well, we have to be nice to everybody, but we shouldn't focus on identity. But then at the same time, you focus in on identity, but you don't want people to focus on other identities. And then you have this guy, Stephen Miller, who doesn't want any multiculturalism, basically just wants white nationalism, but also at the same time wants you to consider him to still be a minority because he is ethnically Jewish. This don't make no damn sense. So you can't have it both ways. So you point your fingers at people like him. And like I said, Ben Shapiro will never admit it, but this is part of the problem. Let's fast forward here. So after 9/11, he started going on Nancy Grace, all these types of things. So again, he was able to use 9/11 as support for, well, they're all terrorists. They're all evil people, and here we go. And that's how we got here. Now, let me fast forward a little bit more here. 2016, this is when he starts to get involved with the Trump campaign. He had already started Breitbart News. And I think I have all those ones there. Yeah. So these are the ones. Oh, the immigration moves. So Miller was an advocate for Trump's administration's family separation policy. In April, he was instrumental to Trump's decision to intensify enforcement of the policy. So this goes, again, way back. We go on here. Goes into the wall, all this types of stuff. But the part that's really important for people to grasp from this is that Stephen Miller is one of the people who feels as though Islam is a problem and Muslims are a problem and Arabs are a problem, right? And he was able to do this with the help of David Horowitz. Now, who was David Horowitz? Let's go ahead and get into him. He died in 2025. That was last year. This is where it gets really crazy when you find out his background. Okay. So David Horowitz from New York. He was another one whose family members fled Russia during the pogroms. So similar to Stephen Miller. But listen to this. He actually started out as a Marxist. He identified as a Marxist intellectual. I kid you not. I can't even make this up. That changed as time went on. Let me go to this part here. When he was in London, Horowitz became a close friend of Deutscher and wrote a biography of him. Horowitz wrote The Free World Colossus, a critique of American foreign policy in the Cold War. This is who he used to be. Okay. Here's the crazy part. I got to highlight this one for you guys. Because this guy, David Horowitz, who aligned himself with the supremacist Stephen Miller, who started that organization, which, by the way, is deemed by the Southern Law Poverty Center, is deemed as a hateful organization. This same guy, before he got mixed up with Stephen Miller, he used to work with Huey P. Newton in the Black Panther Party. During the early 1970s, Horowitz developed a close relationship with Huey P. Newton, founder of the Black Panther Party. Horowitz later portrayed Newton as equal part gangster, terrorist, intellectual, and media celebrity. As part of their work together, Horowitz helped raise money for and assisted the Panthers with the running of a school for poor children in Oakland. So let me pause here for a second. This is how infiltration happens. Because there's no way. So again, this is why sometimes instead of taking money from said person, because they got a lot of money, you better off just remaining grassroots and doing your own thing. Because what I kind of look at, this guy could have been infiltrator, could have been spying. You never know. There were multiple infiltrators in the Black Panther Party. We know this if you know the story about Fred Hampton. Now check this part out. This is the part that's really sneaky and scary. He recommended that Huey P. Newton hire Betty Van Patter as bookkeeper. She was then working for Ramparts. In December of 1974, Van Patter's battered, decomposed body was found on a beach in San Francisco Bay. She had been murdered. It is widely believed that the Panthers were responsible for her murder, a belief also held by Horowitz. Betty Van Patter, let me just show you who she is first. This was Betty Van Patter. She was a bookkeeper for the Black Panther Party, although she herself was white. Now, let's think about this for a second. Of all the people that David Horowitz could have recommended to be the bookkeeper for the Black Panther Party did not have people of other races as a part of the Black Panther Party. There were the Young Patriots, there were the Young Lords, and they worked together in coalition that was called the Rainbow Coalition, but they did not join the Black Panther Party. But David Horowitz says, this is the person that should be your bookkeeper. Why? And then she winds up dead. Till this day, that case has not been solved. And David Horowitz believed that the Black Panthers killed her. This is important because after that death, everything changes for David Horowitz. Let's go in here. Rightward evolution. Following this period, Horowitz rejected Marx and socialism, but kept quiet about his changing politics for nearly a decade. In 1985, Horowitz and Collier, who also became a political conservative, wrote an article, the Washington Post magazine, titled Lefties for Reagan. So he got on that Reagan kick there for just a second. It goes on to say here, I want to get a little bit closer to the Freedom Center. In 1998, Horowitz and Peter Collier founded the David Horowitz Freedom Center. Politico states that Horowitz activities and the DHFC are funded in part by Aubrey and Joyce Chernick and ding, 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 the Bradley Foundation. Now, we talked about them during the story about PragerU. You see the same names coming up? David Horowitz was also connected to TPUSA. Like, all these people are connected. They just swim in different circles, right? Horowitz was the editor of the center's website, Front Page Magazine. It had been described by scholars and writers as right-wing, far-right, and Islamophobic and anti-Islam. Now, here's another part that's important. David Horowitz mentored Charlie Kirk. He was another one of the mentors that Charlie Kirk had. In fact, when he died, Charlie Kirk posted this: "Rest in peace to my friend and mentor, David Horowitz, who has just passed away, a fearless truth teller. David was a titan in the battle of ideas and the war for Western civilization." We're not going to read all of this, but even Charlie Kirk mentioned it here, that he grew up on the hard left and remained a committed Marxist into his 30s, and then he changed. What he does not say here is that that change happened after the death of Betty, who's working with the Black Panthers. And there's David Horowitz right there. All these people roll together. So David Horowitz and Stephen Miller got together, started that organization in college. This whole anti-Islam thing goes way, way back. And I really do believe Stephen Miller's crusade against the migrants in Minneapolis, it's not just about, well, people came here illegally. It's also a way for him to rid out Islam. Because notice what we pointed out before, they're going into certain communities. I don't see them trying to deport anybody who is white who came here illegally. And some people say, well, that's not the case. Yes, it is the case. There are a number of people, and I say this, having worked at the university, having worked with large international population, there are a number of people who come into the country on a student visa or any other kind of visa, and they overstay the visa, and they are also in that same position. But you don't see them going after them. That tells you everything. The TPUSA connection, David Horowitz, of course, mentor to Charlie Kirk, another one. And then Stephen Miller, let's not forget what he said at Charlie Kirk's memorial that tells you everything about who this guy really is.
Those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing. You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred. You are nothing. You can build nothing. You can produce nothing. You can create nothing. We are the ones who build. We are the ones who create. We are the ones who lift up humanity. You thought you could kill Charlie Kirk? You have made him immortal. You have immortalized Charlie Kirk. And now millions will carry on his legacy. And we will devote the rest of our lives to finishing the causes for which Charlie gave his last measure of devotion.
So Stephen Miller was really talking about himself. He's the one that has all that hatred inside of him. He's the one that doesn't want peace. He's the one that, and for years, this is going all the way back to high school. This is an unhappy dude who probably, for the most part, didn't like himself, so he started hating everybody else. That is who Stephen Miller is. And it doesn't matter that Kash Patel can go on a podcast, go on his wife's podcast and sit down. And Kash Patel is someone that Stephen Miller and his wife can point at, and they can say, see, we got Kash Patel. We got Nicki Minaj. So this goes far back for Stephen Miller. And he finally got the opportunity to try to do what he's been wanting to do for a long time. But now it looks like even he's being called out. So we'll have to pay attention to see if he also is removed. They're probably going to remove Kristi Noem, but we'll have to wait and see if he gets removed as well. Let's go to some of the comments, ladies and gents. Leroy said Stephen Miller's wife is a Zionist as well. Yes, she is. She said some really nasty things too, like really nasty things. Thank you for the super chats. Izzo is of a show. This is on behalf of Michael Kavlin, so he stopped spamming the chat. LOL. He says he's running for Senate in Minnesota. Also, thank you, Sabby. Free Palestine. Okay, thank you. Michael, just email me. My email address is in the description box of all my videos. Thank you. Thank you, Roger. Miller joined Tulsi in the DNI do not invite room. Thank you, Tawakul. Everyone grab yourself the popcorns. We're watching a White House reality show. That's what it feels like, right? Yeah. Shout out to Ian for the super sticker. Thank you. Thank you, Roger. Richard Akai? I don't know. Asian member of the BP in California and rose through the ranks of the BPP, becoming field marshal, and was the only Asian American with leadership position. All right. Thank you, Deep Green. Stephen Miller is a lifelong psychotic asshole. Yeah, basically. All right. Let's get to the next story. We're making good time. If you haven't done so, ladies and gents, please smash the like button. Thank you. And let's keep it moving and grooving. Okay. Well, all hell has officially broke loose. And the way it's looking right now, the United States government is going to strike Iran sometime soon. Things have not calmed down in the Middle East. These boats that I talked about a couple of days ago, those warships that were heading to Iran, they're already in the Middle East. And Donald Trump is sending more escalation towards Iran, and Iran has responded. So I would say in the next week or so, it looks like the U.S. government is going to strike Iran. When that happens, I just want you to remember what this guy said here. He's a former CIA analyst. He's been warning people about this for quite some time. His name is Philip Giraldi. Listen to this.
Sure, you've all heard the expression that a friend does not let a friend drive drunk. Well, the United States has been driving drunk for quite some time, and that dangerous behavior has to some extent been encouraged by Israel and its many supporters in Washington. I also would not doubt that Israel, accustomed to behaving with impunity towards its alleged friend and patron in Washington, might manufacture a pretext to draw the U.S. into a new conflict. If the United States goes to war with Iran in the near future, it will not be because Tehran actually threatens America. It will be because Israel and its powerful lobby in the U.S. have succeeded in creating an essentially false casus belli to mandate such action. While it is
Everyone, let's remember that. He warned people it would not be because Iran attacked the U.S., it's because Israel has moved forward with this persuasion of the United States to get the U.S. involved. The reality is Israel knows they cannot beat Iran on their own. Benjamin Netanyahu for years has been trying to get the U.S. involved in some type of conflict with Iran, just like he convinced the U.S. that they needed to get involved in Iraq. And we all know how that turned out. This would require American troops. This is not something that can just work with the IDF, which means we could be potentially looking at another Afghanistan or Iraq all over again, which I am vehemently against. But here we are.
It's often observed that everyone spies on everyone else, particularly true if one is referring to our own NSA. Espionage is a high-risk business that most countries are extremely careful when they are spying on friends because of fear of blowback. Israel, which relies on Washington for billions of dollars in aid and also for political cover in international fora like the UN, does not spy discreetly, largely because it knows that few in Washington will seek to hold it to account. Israel, where government and business work hand in hand, has obtained significant advantage by systematically stealing American technology with both military and civilian applications. The U.S. developed technology is then reverse engineered and used by the Israelis to support their own exports. The GAO concluded that Israel conducts, and this is a quote, conducts the most aggressive espionage operation against the United States of any U.S. ally. So the answer to the question, is Israel an ally of the United States, is most definitely no. Is it even a friend? Well, I suppose there are all kinds of friends in the world, but if you judge.
So, no, I thought he made a good point there that Israel is not a real ally of the United States. They're willing to allow U.S. soldiers to die for this greater Israel project that they won. Again, we've shown the videos on this channel multiple times of Benjamin Netanyahu speaking to Congress years ago, telling them that they needed to get involved in Iraq, that they needed to go after Saddam Hussein. Think about all the U.S. soldiers that died because of that. They don't care. They've been known to sacrifice their own people. We've seen this as well. Anything to accomplish that mission. Those ships that headed to Iran, they are there. They are there in the Middle East. And you don't send warships to Iran unless you're going to try to start something and start something soon. Iran is not taking this lightly, and they have issued a response. They do not appreciate being bullied into bending over backwards for Donald Trump. Essentially, Donald Trump wants the regime to be overthrown. As I said before, regardless how you feel about the regime, the situation in Iran, I don't live there. If you live there, you can always come on and tell me and let me know how you feel about it. But I don't live there. I live right here. And this is not something that the U.S. should get involved with. It's not something that Israel should get involved with. I'm 100% against these regime changes, period. I don't care what country it is. This always ends badly. And it's really not on us to tell them what to do with their country. But this is where we're at now. And I just want to show you what is coming out of Iran.
Donald Trump has again warned Iran he will launch an attack if Tehran doesn't make a deal. In a social media post, Trump said a massive armada is heading to Iran. It is moving quickly with great power, enthusiasm, and purpose. He says it is a larger fleet headed by the great aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln than that sent to Venezuela. Hopefully, he says Iran will quickly come to the table and negotiate a fair and equitable deal. No nuclear weapons, in all caps, as you can see, one that is good for all parties.
So this is a trick. There is no negotiation. I have heard since I was a kid, Iran is building nuclear weapons. They're going to attack the United States. I've heard that since I was a kid. And a generation before me heard, I know the Gen X people, I know you guys heard it too. Boomers, you probably heard it too. Like, I've been hearing this forever. Now, I don't think that any country should have nuclear weapons. None. That being said, that would also mean that Israel cannot have nuclear weapons. So if you're Iran and you know that Israel wants to destroy your very existence, you know they don't want you there. Netanyahu said Iran is the curse in front of Congress. So if you know that, why would you put yourself in a vulnerable position so that Israel can just come in and wipe everybody out and you can't fight back? Does everybody not remember what happened to Gaddafi? This is what the US government does. They say, we want to negotiate. Let's talk this over. Barack Obama sat up there and shook Gaddafi's hand and then killed him. There is no negotiating with the United States. There's none of that. They don't want you there, period. So it's a trick. If it was just about a negotiation, he wouldn't have sent the warships there. So once again, who is the aggressor?
Time, he says, is running out. It is truly of the essence. As I told Iran once before, make a deal. They didn't, and there was Operation Midnight Hammer, a major destruction of Iran. The next attack, he says, will be far worse. Well, earlier, Tehran denied President Trump's claims that it had requested negotiations with the United States. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said diplomacy cannot take place under military threat.
Our position is precisely that diplomacy exercised through military threats cannot be effective or constructive. If they want negotiations to take shape, they must abandon threats, excessive demands, and the raising of irrational issues. Negotiations have their own rules. They must be conducted on an equal footing, based on mutual respect and aimed at mutual interests.
Let's put ourselves in their position. Imagine if someone surrounded your house with all these, like, I don't know, military vehicles. Let's put it that way. Imagine if your house was surrounded with military vehicles and they said, hey, we want you to give your house to us. Now, you already told them that it's your house and you paid for it, and you're not going to just give your house away. But they want your house because they want the land. And you told them no. So they surround your house with all these military grade vehicles and say, we need to negotiate, make a deal or else. But the deal that they want to make involves you being removed. They're trying to make you say yes under pressure. How is that okay? How is that right? It's not right. And honestly, it's disrespectful that you would have U.S. military warships surrounding this country and you're saying, let's make a deal.
Well, we have correspondents covering this story from the U.S. and Iran. First, we go to our White House correspondent, Kimberly Halkett in Washington, D.C. Kimberly, so a ratcheting up of the rhetoric there from President Trump.
Yeah, this is something that Donald Trump has said repeatedly in recent days. The threat of the Armada, the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is now in the Middle East area in those waters. This is something that the U.S. president has tried to ratchet up in terms of pressure. And essentially what the U.S. president is saying with this latest threat is that Iran needs to agree to a deal to limit its nuclear program and to prevent the development specifically of nuclear weapons. So what we know is that the U.S.
What we know is that now the position has changed again. just a week or so ago, Donald Trump said that the U.S. is going to intervene in Iran because they're killing protesters. So first you were saying that you may strike Iran because they're killing protesters in Iran. Now, we went over this on the show and showed you that there were a bunch of Mossad agents who were actually infiltrating those protests, killing people there. Right. It's right on camera, right on video. So I guess that didn't work. So now the Trump administration says, oh, we might strike Iran because they're building nuclear weapons. So which is it? And how are the American people so blinded by this shit? How is it that Americans are so easily fooled? And I say this because if you go to other countries, they don't fall for this. They know what the U.S. government is. They know the U.S. empire. So it's just really weird to me. I'm like, you guys don't pick up on the fact that the president just told you it was about protests. And then he said the deaths during the protest have stopped. Now they're saying they're going to attack them anyway because, oh, they're building nuclear weapons. Now it's a different reason. The point is they just want to attack them. They don't need a reason. And they want to do so on behalf of Israel because Israel said Iran is the curse and they want them gone.
The U.S. president is using past U.S. action against Iran as the leverage and the threat to get Iran to the negotiating table. He has also said repeatedly in recent days he believes Iran wants to make a deal, but he wants to see that deal made imminently, and that's why he is, in essence, turning the screws to put on the pressure.
All right. Ali Hashem in Tehran, how is this being viewed there, this new threat by the American president? How will the Iranians be receiving this?
Well, this threat comes as just a part of this sequence that's been going on over the past days. We've seen the military build up in the Arabian Sea, and of course, a lot going on behind closed doors. Mediators are trying their best to come out with a solution because the situation right now is really very serious. Now we're hearing from Iran's deputy foreign minister, Mr. Gharib Abadi, saying that Iran's priority is not sitting with the United States, rather having a 200% readiness to face any attack. This is a few minutes ago. Also, we've heard of several phone calls today, and it seems a lot is going on the diplomatic side, a lot of attempts to try bridge the gap, which doesn't seem to be till the moment bridged. The Iranian foreign minister received calls from the foreign minister of Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. These calls are all in this sequence. So what we're hearing from the Iranians, readiness to fight and also readiness to talk whenever the negotiations are proper and they are not a kind of dictations on them.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can't talk to people in that way, but they said that they are ready to fight. So they've had time, to prepare. In fact, I want to show you this so you can see what it looks like for yourself. The American forces have completed their buildup near Iran, which certainly indicates that the military operation against Iran has been decided upon and will be executed. And you can see the image here. Here's Iran in the orange. And you can see here's the Abraham Lincoln CSG right here, getting closer and closer. Then, of course, you have the military bases that are surrounding as well. There's also other ships here in the Mediterranean Sea. So like I said, they don't go there just for nothing. Number one, you have to use a lot of fuel to get there anyway. So, right. So they're not going to go there just for nothing. They're ready to go. Now, the foreign minister of Iran, I want you to see what he said about Donald Trump's threats. Everyone listen to this.
Quote, our brave armed forces are prepared with their fingers on the trigger to immediately and powerfully respond to any aggression against our beloved land, air, and sea. The valuable lessons learned from the 12-day war have enabled us to respond even more strongly, rapidly, and profoundly. At the same time, Iran has always welcomed a mutually beneficial, fair, and equitable nuclear deal on equal footing and free from coercion, threats, and intimidation, which ensures Iran's rights to peaceful nuclear technology and guarantees no nuclear weapons.
Such weapons have no place in our security calculations, and we have never sought to acquire them. Okay, so that's coming from Said. I want you to focus on this part here. The valuable lessons learned from the 12-day war have enabled us to respond even more strongly, rapidly, and profoundly. So remember, they already had practice. Remember that back and forth between Israel and Iran, and Israel backed off because they realized, okay, some of their, missiles are getting through the Iron Dome. We need to, cool it for a second. That was another time where Israel was the one that struck first and then expected the U.S. to just come in and save their ass. So we're looking at all hell breaking loose here. So Iran had practice during that 12-day war, ladies and gents. Jeffrey Sachs, who's been on the show before, he laid this out so beautifully here. I think this is on Glenn's show. Listen to what he said here.
And so now we have a carrier task group, strike group on its way to attack Iran. So an attack is imminent, I think. The goal here has never been negotiation. Whenever there has been negotiation, Israel has jumped up and down saying, don't negotiate. Of course, a nuclear agreement was reached with Iran a decade ago. The Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA. It was actually ratified by the UN Security Council Resolution 2231 on the 20th of July, 2015. Then Trump ripped it up in his first term. So there's never been any desire by Israel to have a negotiated settlement. And since the United States does what Israel tells it to do, there has never been a readiness of the United States to have real negotiations with Iran. And Trump proved that again last summer, because we can recall that when Israel, with U.S. support, bombed Iran, which was on the 12th and 13th of June, 2025, that was 2 days before scheduled negotiations between the United States and Iran. So this whole idea that this is about Iran negotiating is phony. This is a regime change operation that's being carried out through hybrid warfare, meaning you try cyber warfare, you try street unrest, you try crushing the economy, and you try bombing, you try assassinations. They're trying in every which way to overthrow this government. And Trump, being Trump, blasts this out that, well, if you don't do what we say, this is like Venezuela. What does it say? This fleet is ready, willing, and able to rapidly fulfill its mission with speed and violence if necessary. You know, it's pure thuggery.
Yeah, I'm serious. Like, it's a mafia. It's a mafia. We're the bully. Like, we're the bully. Like I said, I don't see another country's ships surrounding the United States of America. Scott Ritter said something that he's getting some heat for. Scott Ritter doesn't think that Iran should wait. Listen to what he said here. Oh, also on Glenn Deason's show. Glenn had everybody this week. But listen to this. Some people, you guys let me know what you think he said here, but how you feel about it. But some people have a problem with what he said. Listen to this.
If I were the decision maker in Iran, the Abraham Lincoln would already be sunk, American bases would already be destroyed, Israel would be eliminated, and I'd be carrying out massive operations against the Kurds in Iraq, the Baluch. I'd be wiping out Avaz. I'd be killing anybody suspected of MEK ties. I'd be sending assassination teams around the world to kill the Shah's son. I would kill everybody. But that's just me. I'm not Iranian. I'm just a bloodthirsty son of a bitch who doesn't believe in standing by and getting hit in the face first. The Iranians, unfortunately for them, are very civilized. They're very proper. And I believe that their government still holds out hope that war can be avoided. And so they're not going to take, I believe, the actions that would be necessary to preempt this. Iran has every right to. I mean, the statements made by the United States and Israel already justify this. There's no doubt that there's an imminent.
Yeah. So this is 2x speed. The person who shared this video is 2x speed. But I think the point that Scott was making is that Iran should not sit back and wait for the U.S. to do the right thing. Because perfect example of that is, again, look at what happened to Gaddafi, right? But again, it goes to show you that Iran is not the aggressor here. And I think they have to be careful with that too. They don't want to be seen also as the aggressor because people already have their opinions about them. Now, this China is not happy about this. And you got to see what they said here, how China aims to block Mossad operations in Iran. People need to pay close attention to this here. China is closely monitoring the extent of Israeli intelligence Mossad penetration into Iran, especially after the events of 2025 and the Israeli strikes deep inside Iran. The most prominent features of the Chinese position and actions in this regard are embodied in the Chinese assessment of the Pandora's box of global security risk. Chinese observers and military analysts warn that Mossad's success in penetrating Iran intelligence agencies and sensitive facilities has opened a Pandora's box of global security risk. Beijing believes that Israel's ability to plant agents and disable Iranian air defense and radar systems from within represents a new pattern of intelligence warfare that necessitates vigilance and the strengthening of Chinese national security measures as well. And another thing that it says here regarding China political and diplomatic stance on American and Israeli interference in Iran. China affirms its continued opposition to any foreign intervention in Iran's internal affairs. It considers Tehran's stability a strategic interest, particularly given the 25-year comprehensive strategic cooperation agreement between the two countries. Beijing expresses concern about the escalating intelligence and military confrontation between Israel and Iran and consistently calls for restraint to avoid disrupting energy and trade routes in the region. And this is another thing, right, that people may not have been aware, but there is that relationship that China has with Iran. And I was going to tell you right now, China is basically looking back and they're like, look, I don't know what's going on across the ocean with you guys, but if you fuck up our money, we might have to come for you. And basically, you know, I don't know how China feels about, you know, like the Zionism and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. But China is looking at the business aspect of all this. And they're like, you mess with our money, we might have to intervene. We may have to get involved. And thus, I don't think everybody understands that going after Iran is not on the island by itself. Iran has a relationship with China. They have a relationship with Russia. They have a relationship with other powerful countries. So the United States government would like for you to believe that Iran is on an island by itself, but it's not. This is a big part of the problem that I think that we have. And even Saudi Arabia, they called this out a couple of days ago. Saudi official, when our refinery was attacked, we asked the U.S. for help, but they stayed silent. Now, as we try to make peace with Iran and reduce tensions, America is deliberately sabotaging the process. They want war. The U.S. is a war empire. It cannot survive without conflict. You can hear some of this here. It's not translated, so my apologies.
سيفتح ممرات جديدة للصراع الذي بالكاد يعني نجحت دول المنطقة في إطفاء لهيبه. اليوم تشعر المنطقة بأنها في حالة استقرار، في حالة سلام. التحرك الأمريكي ربما يعيد الصراع للحيوية من جديد.
دكتور مبارك، يعني نريد أن نتساءل أيضا، يعني لربما الخطوة الأمريكية بررتها الولايات المتحدة بالمضايقات التي قامت بها إيران لبعض السفن التجارية.
Just wanted to play a little bit of it for you. I'm sorry, guys. There's no translation, so I can't. I'm sorry about that one. But then also, I think, Mel, she had a really good point here. Mel said, serious question. Why the hell would Iran agree to stop producing ballistic missiles? Everyone saw what happened to Gaddafi. They'd be out of their freaking minds to agree to that. I mean, I don't know what to say other than it's so obvious. They know that would make them defenseless. They know that they will put themselves in a vulnerable position, which is what Israel wants. Israel and the US, they want them to be in a vulnerable position. So this is continuing to escalate. And I feel like I got to tell you, sometimes I think I have to take a meditation break. The amount of chaos that has happened under this administration, sometimes it's hard to keep up with it. I feel like Donald Trump is trying to create as much chaos as possible so that you forget about those damn Epstein files. And I'm here to tell you, don't forget about it. I just saw recently Marjorie Taylor Greene was just on Kim Iverson's show the other day, and she was talking about it as well. And the reality is they want you to look away from that. And if he can continue to have all this chaos, I'm going to take Greenland, I'm going to bomb Iran, I'm going to do this. If they keep turning your head this way and that way with all this other things that are happening throughout the world, then slowly but surely, their hope is that Epstein will make its way out of the news cycle. But it won't on this show. But this is where we're at now, ladies and gentlemen. All hell breaks loose. So I would say wait for it. Be very well prepared. The next couple of days are going to be pretty tense. I do have Professor Morandi coming on to the show this weekend. We're going to record that interview. It'll premiere on Sunday, and I'm going to get his take about this as well, because I think they're really going to try to strike them again. Let's go to some of the comments here, ladies and gents. Tiffany said, Sabby, I recognize some faces in your wall art. My eye went right to the comedian and newscasters. Oh, yes. The Zago brothers, they made that picture. You can follow them on X. I don't know if they're still selling them, but they made that picture. They did a really good job. Thank you for the super chat. Mom's the word. You are the best, Sabby. Thank you. Thank you, Cloudness. They talk God, but they don't know him. This is true. Gamer says ICE agents also work with IDF. Yes, they do. Humongous says elect independents to Congress, only way to break the duopoly. I support that. Thank you, Kevin. I asked Professor Morandi today on Haiphong if he thought Iran would sink U.S. carriers if they're attacked. He confirmed ships as a real possibility. Yeah. Thank you, Miranda, who's been a member for 12 months. Most Americans still want to believe in the fantasy of American democracy and that we are the good guys. Yeah. Thank you for the super sticker, Ronnie. Thank you, Kevin. Heard about Putin meeting Jelani today? I have not. That's another thing I need to look into. Like I said, it's been so much news. And thank you, El Kadon. Iran had our permission to dismantle our regime. All righty. Thank you, Kinman. I predict Upscrolled will be abolished. We'll have to wait and see. And thank you, Logically. Every POTUS either pushes attacks or they're gone. There you go. There you go. All right. We are moving to part 2 of that food series. Last time we talked about Walmart and the reported pounds for their meat not being correct when they were weighed. Now we're going to go to the other part, which is what the hell are we eating? What is in our food? And this is something we may not always pay attention to. So let's start with Aldi. For those who are not aware, I know Aldi is not everywhere, but Aldi is kind of like a cheaper Whole Foods. Like Aldi has pretty fresh fruit and vegetables, but for a less price than what you would pay at Whole Foods. So a lot of people do like them. I want to show you what someone recognized about the food, packaged food at Aldi. So let's go ahead and start with this one first.
They say Aldi fresh, but their salads contain bioengineered food ingredients. Their bagels contain bioengineered.
You guys see it? Contains bioengineered food ingredients.
Food ingredients. Not so fresh. Even the granola bars or fruit bars contains bioengineered food ingredients. They say all.
That's one of them. We'll go to the next video here. This is
I'm here at Aldi, and almost everything they have contains bioengineered food ingredients.
all of them. Yogurt
contains bioengineered food ingredients.
Bioengineered ingredients. So this is why I asked the question, what is in our food? Some people said Aldi is a discount store. It's not, I guess I don't call it a discount store here in Massachusetts because the cheapest grocery store here is Market Basket. Because even Aldi's prices aren't that cheap here, but it's cheaper than Whole Foods. I have found like their fruit and vegetables to be rather fresh. Now, what I just showed you, how many of you have time to do that? How many of you have time to, take that package and turn it around and look to see what the ingredients are? I think a lot of times we don't. I think most of us don't do that, right? Now that's Aldi. I don't know if it's just an Aldi thing or if other grocery stores could have that issue as well. But I do know that the problem seems to lie with a lot of these processed foods, right? Ideally, you want to reduce the amount of processed foods that you have. And this is some of the reasons, because it's not natural. Like there are going to be what I call fillers and additives that are there. Oftentimes there are ingredients included in processed foods that make it rather addictive, like MSG, things like that. And also antifreeze. Here's another one I wanted to show you. See, this is also wild and crazy. This guy, HealthBot, if you follow them on X, they have a lot of content about what's really in the food. So foods that have antifreeze in them.
After reading this comment, I definitely had to do some research, and I found out this one's actually true. Pop-Tarts and a long list of other foods and drinks use an additive called propylene glycol, which is also the active ingredient inside of engine coolants, various paints and varnishes and enamels. But according to the FDA, as long as you don't eat too much of it, it's okay. My question is, if you eat a lot of food that has it in it and you don't know that it's in it and you just keep eating it, it could add up pretty quickly, don't you think? Various ice creams within the Blue Bunny brand also have propylene glycol in their stuff. All right, this one's actually sad too because I love Cold Stone, but they have 17 different varieties at all their locations that have propylene glycol in them. More shots fired with Dunkin' coming in with their flavored iced teas having propylene glycol, but
and this is another one, like, how do you mess up tea, right? How does Dunkin' Donut mess up tea? So he said it's their flavored iced teas.
don't worry, you can still get their regular iced teas that don't have it. I've seen a couple of you guys say that Fireball is also banned in certain countries because of the propylene glycol, aka antifreeze, but yep, another one on the list. Why, Betty? Like, seriously, we can't even have cake either? Yep, just another one, and Duncan Hines as well. This list is actually longer than my first videos, just about banned foods in other countries, so if you want to see more of this one, definitely let me know.
So I truly believe this is part of the reason why we see more. I would say, let's start with the kids, right? When I was a kid, and I'm not exaggerating, when I was a kid, there was probably like one kid that you knew that had cancer. One. Now you see the number of childhood cancers has increased. People keep getting sick, people getting sick earlier. I just saw something recently that said younger people are starting to get colon cancer. And they do those screenings, later on, but they're starting to show now that younger people are getting colon cancer. And I've been thinking for a while that it's the food. I think we have gotten away from having more natural, healthy food than compared to how it used to be. And maybe the problem started with the microwave. Maybe it started with frozen dinners. I don't know. What I do know is that food does not taste the same. I can tell you, as someone who grew up and I was really big, like into chocolate chip cookies, I loved the Chips Ahoy chocolate chip cookies when I was a kid. Will not eat it today. You cannot tell me it's the same. It tastes very different. And now I know why. Dr. Eric Berg, I don't know if you guys have heard of him. You should follow him. He gives pretty good insight. You're not eating the same store-bought cookies you remember. What you are eating has more sugar, more additives, and more oils disguised as the same trusted dessert from your childhood. So he explains these things. And of course, the Chips Ahoy one really grabbed my attention. You see, back then, Chips Ahoy had in-reach wheat flour, rye flour, sugar, chocolate, shortening, malt, whey, solid, salt, leavening, lecithin, and artificial flavors. Look at everything it has now. And all of this isn't even great, but look at this. Here we go with the oses, dextrose, caramel color, ammonium phosphate, fructose corn syrup. You see all these other things, canola oil. Here's the seed oils, all these oils that they added. That's why it doesn't taste the same. And I don't know. If you grew up like, I'm a millennial, but if you grew up like I did, or if you're like Gen Z or Boomer, you know what I'm talking about. It does not taste the same. The cereals don't even taste the same as they did before. So they found ways to make these foods cheaper. But what does that mean for you? If you look at McDonald's French fries, for example, is probably the perfect example. This is what you're getting when you have French fries at McDonald's. Canola oil, see the seed oils, hydrogenated soybean oil, safflower oil, all these oils. There's that damn dextrose again, sodium acid. None of these things are good for you. Now, if you still want French fries, you can still have them. But honestly, you're better off just getting russet potatoes and making your own damn French fries at home. And I get it. We've all had McDonald's French fries and stuff like that. And I'm not saying this is something you can never have, but I think where it gets to be problematic is if you're eating this kind of stuff on the regular, right? They're putting so much stuff in our food, and then we wonder why we don't feel well. They're putting so much stuff in our food, and then we wonder why we might have a tummy ache. And when we go to the grocery store, the best way to really kind of feel this out is to shop on the outside of, don't go down the aisles. When you go down the aisles of the grocery store, that's when you're getting more of the processed foods, right? But if you shop on that perimeter, you're getting the fruits, the vegetables, like the meats, like all those things are on the perimeter. But once you start going down those aisles, that's where a lot of the processed food exists. And there are healthier items than other ones. But one of the things that you can look for is this. If you can't pronounce it, your body probably doesn't know what to do with it. These ingredients are in almost everything at the grocery store: cereals, snacks, bread, sauces, even foods marketed as healthy. They're designed to extend the shelf life, enhance flavor, and keep you coming back for more. And here are some of the ingredients that you should probably avoid: enriched wheat, canola oil, artificial coloring, soy, acesulfame K, high fructose corn syrup, polysorbate 80, MSG, hydrogenated and fractionated oils, potassium benzoate and sodium benzoate, artificial flavors, aspartame, propylglycol, BHA, BHT, sodium chloride, potassium sorbate, soy lecithin, and sucralose. That's just some of them, not all of them. But these things obviously are not healthy for you. If you talk to your grandparents, or hell, even your parents, and you ask them about what food used to taste like, it didn't used to be this way. There wasn't as much processed foods. And so people had healthier food. If you wonder why, like, how is it some people from like the silent generation, they live so long? They didn't eat the food that we eat. They didn't grow up on that. Let's go back to the days before there were TV dinners, before people were putting food in a microwave, when the only way you had food is if it was coming just out of the oven, off the stove, or if you wanted to heat something up, you had to heat it up in the oven. And what it makes me wonder is faster necessarily better? I'm starting to think that it's not. And that prompts some of us to go towards organic. And this is another one that can be a scam. The organic foods that you see in the grocery store, are they really organic? How do we know? Here's an example here. Grocery stores are currently under investigation because the mist on their organic produce isn't water. It's actually full of chlorine and other pesticides to kill bacteria. Even organic food has pesticides in many grocery stores. I'll show you this here. There's a letter there. Ken Patton, Attorney General of Texas, investigates major grocery chains for spraying organic produce with pesticides without telling customers. So when you see those the mist spray over the veggie tables, I like saying veggie tables, spread over the veggie tables and all that stuff, that's not water. And so it seems like there's some type of investigation going on there. So that brings me to this point. Is it organic? Let me show you what they're able to get away with. Check this out.
People think it means no pesticides, but that's absolutely not true. Organic farmers can and do use pesticides. They just have to be derived from natural sources. In fact, there are over 20 chemicals approved for organic use in the United States. And weirdly, some of those natural pesticides can be more toxic than synthetic ones, which
they even listed boric acid on here, by the way. I just saw that one. So organic does not mean without pesticides. This is a common belief, but not the case.
Been created or altered in a lab. I mean, cyanide is a natural compound, but you wouldn't want to eat it. And the word organic means different things depending on where you live, because different countries play by different rules. In the United States, for something to be labeled organic, it's partially about excluding compounds, but it also focuses on production methods. Generally, that means no synthetic fertilizers, no GMOs, or any synthetic pesticides. Instead, organic farmers use things like crop rotation or natural fertilizers and those natural pesticides I discussed. Farmers also control pests with natural predators and traps, and weeds might be pulled by hand or controlled with mulch. And not all food labeled organic is completely organic either.
This is the part that I think is the scam, right? Just because it's labeled organic doesn't mean it's organic. And he's going to show you how they get away with this.
If a label says organic in the US, it has to consist of at least 95% organic ingredients. If it says made with organic ingredients, it needs to be only up to 70% organic. Only when you see the words 100% organic does it actually mean that. The European Union rules are similar, but with a little bit stricter than the United States on labeling, and they also take animal welfare standards into account as well.
So that's what I wanted you guys to see. And I looked into this a while back because I had a former coworker who grew up on a farm. So her dad had a farm and they grew fruit and vegetables, and they had cows and chicken, all that kind of stuff. This is when I lived back in the Carolinas. And she said that she does not believe that all of these foods that are labeled in the grocery store as organic are organic, because she said from her experience growing up on a farm, when you grow food organically, it doesn't grow as fast. So how are they mass producing organic food so quickly if it doesn't grow fast to begin with? When she told me that made me think about some things. I see people all the time. They go into Whole Foods, which I don't even know if their standards have declined or not, because Amazon bought Whole Foods, so their standards may not even be the same. I see people spend all this money at Whole Foods and all these large prices, like just to buy what they say is organic. And it's like, are these things actually really organic? Or are you paying a lot of money for something that isn't worth it? This guy here went to Trader Joe's, and I didn't know about this, like the number on the barcode for fruits. And this is really important for fruits and vegetables. I think he got kicked out of Trader Joe's twice. But look at this little tip that he's going to show you about the avocados.
Avocados, organic, not bad. $4.99 for 4 organic avocados. In case you guys didn't know the way to tell organic food from non-organic food, a non-organic avocado, $4.225. If they have single avocados that are organic, it'll be $9.4225. So organic fruit and vegetables will be labeled with barcodes that have a 9 at the front.
So that everyone take a note for that. So if it doesn't have a 9, he's saying that it's not organic fruit.
Be fooled. Sometimes the non-organic stuff sneaks into the organic stuff and you get fooled. Sugar plum, grape tomatoes, that's the only organic tomatoes I could find. If you guys can eat tomatoes, I'm jealous. All the nightshade fruits, eggplant, goji berries, tomato, peppers, they kind of bother my eczema. I don't know if you guys have the same experience, but
well, tomatoes tend to be inflammatory foods. Let's go to the part here when he gets to the packaged food. Again, this is still Trader Joe's.
An organic garlic bread, bake at home. I'm betting you it has folic acid in it. Let's see. Well, wheat flour with ascorbic acid, a dough conditioner, water, palm shortening. Not so stoked about that. It's got a seed oil in it, natural flavors. Again, here's a perfect example of fake health foods at Trader Joe's. You don't actually know what natural flavors are. There are a lot of natural flavors that you guys would think are absolutely gross. Castoreum, and I'm not lying to you guys, is beaver anal gland secretions. It's mostly used in like raspberry or berry flavored things or vanilla flavors. And it's mainly used today in perfumes. Opium from Yves Saint Laurent might actually have beaver anal gland secretions in it. But this is the kind of stuff that qualifies as natural flavors. If Trader Joe's wanted to, they could put castoreum from beaver anal glands in here, not listed on the label, and it's just natural flavors. So
that's the catch. That's supposed to be organic garlic bread, but it has seed oils in the ingredients and natural flavors, right? That could be anything, right? So this is how they get away with it. And hey, I like going to Trader Joe's, but they be scamming people too. It's like they be scamming people too. Someone just asked me about the tomatoes. So let me tell you something about the tomatoes. Back in the day, I took a good look at the TB12 diet, the Tom Brady diet that he recommended for athletes and all that type of stuff. This thing that Tom Brady did during that time is that he would eat foods that were in season and he would avoid foods that cause inflammation. And one of those foods was tomatoes. Tomatoes are also acidic, right? So some people that deal with acid reflux, they may not be able to handle tomatoes or tomato sauce. It depends, on the person. But yeah, tomatoes is one of the ones that can cause inflammation, right? So it all depends. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, you really want to try to limit processed foods. That's really what it comes down to. You limit the processed foods. And then also when you're looking at the foods, like the fruits and vegetables and those types of things at the end of the day, then you got to ask yourself, do I want to pay this money for this organic fruit or whatever? Well, now he said it starts with the number 9. So now you know what to look for. So it's sad in a way that they're able to do that. Like they can say it's organic because the FDA says as long as it meets these minimum requirements, you can do that. But it doesn't mean it's 100% organic. So it could still have crap in it, So I say if we just kind of go back to the old fashioned ways of doing things, cooking most of your foods and cooking them at home, eating less takeout, avoid fast food if you can. Not saying you can't have an occasional treat, but it's loaded with a bunch of shit. And then going back to those days where people used to sit at the table and the whole family would sit at the table and you would cook most of your food. I think once we get into the microwave age and stuff like that, that's when, those other chemicals and stuff like that can kind of sneak up in there. But you really want to have home cooked meals and you want to have less processed food. And if you can grow your own food, hey, go for it. I know some of you do. If you can grow your own like cucumbers and all that type of stuff, I say go for it. But that's the reality about our food. That's the reality. So that's the part 2. So in part 1, you saw that Walmart was overcharging people for the weight of their meats. And now you see that some of these supermarkets have food labeled organic and it's not even organic. And some of that's still loaded with crap. Right? So here you go. Off the Deeper End says we need to go back to generational homes, seeing how most younger people can't afford their own homes anymore. Yep. I see it. We'll do the rest of the super chats like at the end. I do want to make sure we're not here too late. So I want to go ahead and go to the last story. Eric, can we go to part 3? It's time to get into this Erika Kirk story. Again, all hell breaks loose. Apparently, some of the employees or even some past employees from Turning Point USA have started to reveal some things. And one of them being leaked video and leaked audio of Turning Point USA meetings after Charlie Kirk was killed. So not yesterday, not a month ago, after Charlie Kirk was killed. Let's get into the first one. Shout out to Project Constitution. Full leaked audio, Erika Kirk's employee Zoom call just 11 days after Charlie Kirk's assassination, upbeat, laughing, and bragging about metrics. I think this one is worse than the other one, but let's get into this one first, and then we'll get to the one that is 5 days after he was killed. Listen to this.
Online. Hi, everybody. I still love all these emoji Zoom things. Wow. I don't even know where to begin. The fact that we were able to pull off an event of a century, like it's just insane. We had over 275,000 people that attended, and stadium overflow, Westgate, insane, you guys. And then you have, was it 100 million? You guys that heard the gospel and all about Charlie and all about everything that you guys do, and the hard work of Turning Point USA is insane. We had thousands that were registered to vote.
Pause. why were they registering people to vote at Charlie Kirk's memorial event? Seems kind of weird, doesn't it? I mean, shouldn't the focus have just been on the memorial? I don't know. It's kind of weird. I mean, I don't go to funerals or other memorials and people are trying to register me to vote. Kind of weird. 11 days after he was killed. Let's get to the merch part.
I think we're at like over 200,000 for merch sales. Don't quote me on that because I think it just keeps like bumping up like crazy. But I just wanted to say a huge thank you to the events team, the development team, the graphic design team, the production team. It's just phenomenal.
So I would have no issue with this conversation if it happened at a different time, but it's kind of weird. Your husband was just killed in front of a crowd of people and the whole world saw it, and you're talking about merch sales. Are we serious? It's just, it's kind of weird. Like, why are you even thinking about that? Also, why were you guys even thinking about registering people to vote at a memorial? It just seems kind of disrespectful. It's all business. It doesn't seem emotional. It doesn't seem like, I don't know how to explain it, but there's nothing heartfelt there. It's just like, guess what the business did today? Why were you selling merch at a memorial? What is going on? What the hell is wrong with people? I hope I'm not alone on this, but I'm just sitting back and thinking about this, and I'm like, I just can't imagine people doing this. Like, it's kind of weird, bizarre.
Incredible work leading into the memorial. And honestly, a lot of the staff that worked on the memorial, they had 20-hour days for a week during the time of us grieving the loss of my husband. And honestly, I know several staff that didn't even sleep. Again, you guys are breathing angels, and I'm so grateful for all of you. And obviously a huge thank you to the Mosaic team. VI, you guys are 10 out of 10. Like, we have the most incredible team. We just do. And you guys know that, and you guys are all a part of that. And I am so thankful.
She doesn't sound like someone who's grieving. She doesn't sound like, I mean, logically says monetizing your husband's death is something only a messed up person would do. This is so weird. It's very wild, man. Very wild. Like, it hadn't even been a whole month, and it's, let's see how much merch we can sell. Let's see how much money we can keep rolling in. Let's see how many people we can get to register to vote. What the hell is wrong with people? Wow.
And if you do have a moment and you run into any of those staff members that you know had a role in this, and you know that they put a lot of their time and effort into it, just say thank you. There's something really special to be seen in moments like this, and it's not easy. I'm speaking from experience. I'm right in the trenches with you guys. And so the fact that you just, a simple thank you. I don't care if any of you have beef with each other from the past or have any issues with someone said something about this or that. Like, if you guys have any of that, please put it to rest. My husband's dead. Like, I'm not trying to be morbid, but he's dead.
Okay. Yes. Your husband is dead. Yes, he was killed. So why are you talking about merch sales that soon after he was killed? It is so weird to me. And notice the way she says it. Has anybody else picked up on this? Whenever she says her husband is dead, when the way that she says it, she sounds kind of angry when she says it. Like, it's like the tone just totally switches. Like, I don't know. And this is not to say that you can't be angry, but I don't hear that sincerity. Like, you don't sound like you are sad. I don't feel like there's any type of grieving. It feels weird. And at this point, remember, she's the CEO, not anyone else. So she made these decisions. It's very weird.
And it puts life into perspective of how short life is and relationships, and God puts people in your life for a reason, and it teaches you a lesson, it teaches them a lesson. So if you are going through a time where, just lay it to rest, and we are moving forward, Turning Point USA 2.0 with Charlie in our hearts, and that's what he would want. I'm just grateful that while things were still in motion and moving around, that we had our leadership teams provide for you counselors, pastors. I heard there were therapy dogs. Slightly jealous that I didn't get to have any moment with a therapy dog. Breakfast. I was really adamant about making sure that we paid for your flights for your spouses to be there. That was something on my heart. You don't want to grieve alone. No one's supposed to grieve alone. It's not healthy. But I just think it's a beautiful honor that all of these benefits were made for the community to grieve and remember Charlie. And I really hope you took advantage of those in a healthy way when they were provided, because it's meant to be for everyone, for healing. Grief comes in waves. Some days are going to be tougher than others, but take it as it comes. And that's why you have your Turning Point family, and just lean on them.
Okay. Boy, that's some of the audio that was apparently 11 days after he was killed. But now I want you to see this part here as well. Then we're going to get to that one that was 5 days before. This guy here, listen to this. Diligent Denizen. I want you to hear the thing about registering voters. Again, listen.
They had you guys registering voters at Charlie's Memorial?
Yes.
What? That's wild.
Yeah, I thought that was disgusting, and I just remember thinking, I just kept getting more and more discouraged, and I was exhausted.
At this point, who is kind of like taking the front-facing position as far as leadership at TPUSA or Turning Point Action, right? Like, it remained Tyler Boyer, I imagine, for Turning Point Action who you work for, but who's really visible now? Is it Erika? Is it Andrew Colvett? Is it Tyler Boyer? Who's like perceived as in charge, according to the, from your experience as a worker, or maybe like the chatter you had heard working for the organization?
Honestly, Erika, like Andrew Kovacs, he's pretty much like by her side, but no, she transitioned very fast I think it was 8 days she was appointed CEO after he passed away. And yeah, she became the face really quick.
She transitioned very fast, almost as if she was prepared and ready for this, which could be the case. But I wanted you to hear it from them as well, that they were told to register. They had to register people at the memorial. I think that's just so disgusting. I wouldn't do that at anyone's memorial. It gives this perception that it's just business as usual. And that's what it seems like. And that's why I was just kind of like, that can't be real. But that was the case. And then here's another one. Now, this call took place September 16th, 2025. So this was around 5 or 6 days after he was killed. And this one, you can see the video. So we're going to start at the beginning of this, and then I'm going to go to another clip to get straight to the part that I wanted you guys to see. So she's saying here, and you guys hear us, give us a thumbs up. Can't see anything other than Marina. So here we go.
There you go. Oh, look at all the thumbs up. Look how cute that is. Sorry, this is a little bit more informal than probably Charlie would be reacting. How sweet. I didn't know they could do that. I hate Zoom. I never like Zoom. Sorry, you guys. I just wanted to say, first and foremost, my heart obviously is broken for you guys as much as it is for our family. You guys lost not only a boss, but someone that you looked up to, someone that you believed in his mission, that you also...
So guys, this is so that's 6 days. This is 6 days after he was killed. And this is not like a regular death either, right? Like, it's not like someone was sick and you knew their time was coming, they were going to pass away. It's not like it was like a car accident. I mean, he was shot in front of the world. And people were showing the videos over and over on social media. Like this is a big thing. And here it is 6 days after. And it's just, I don't understand this, guys. I don't understand. It's like her behavior, it feels weird. And so some people may see it and they may say, well, maybe she was trying to put on, a good face for the staff. Okay, maybe. But I mean, I just, all of us have had people that we know that have died, correct? Like I've had family members die, etc. Like the energy, all of it to me, it's just a little bit weird. Like I'm not seeing the grieving. It's like what I was telling you guys before about the crying when she was at that town hall with Barry Weiss. I was not convinced it was real tears. I just kept seeing this tissue. And that didn't seem real to me at all. How you keep dabbing in the same spot, but I ain't see no tears come down face. No tear on face. So it's just weird to me. I don't know. And she said, well, everyone grieves differently. Okay, I get that. But 6 days after your husband was shot in the neck and the videos were still going all around social media. Let's go on more.
That you loved listening to his show. You loved hearing his wisdom on things. I'm sure some of you have also had very personal moments of where you sat down and
had private conversations with him. I want you all to hold on to those. And I want you all to remember those so deeply. I want you to journal about them. I want you to be able to tell your kids about them. I want you to put those in your heart as why you're still here with the Turning Point USA family, because that's what we want. And like I said to our small group after whatever day that was, and I did the thing on TV, how my days are still rounded Friday. I told the team, I said, Turning Point USA will continue like my husband always wanted, and it'll be bigger than ever. And we're going to honor him by doing that. We're going to stay humble. We're going to work hard because that's what he would want. And we're going to just make it grow. And we're going to keep our eyes fixed on heaven.
So here we go again, talking about we're going to make it grow, Turning Point USA. Why would that even be mentioned at this point in time? This is early, 6 days. Like, why are you talking about growth and business productivity and all that type of stuff? Why are you talking about that right now? This was a public hit. Like literally people saw, when I saw that video, I saw it on Twitter, of course, Twitter X, whatever you call them these days. I didn't think it was real at first. And then the video just kept going around and around and around. And I didn't even like Charlie Kirk. But even for me, I was like, oh shit. Like, let's take that down. Let's not, So it's weird. And that wasn't her friend. That was her husband.
And, like even Stacey said, he's gonna find ways to speak to us. And he's going to speak to you in different ways. Every person's going to be different, but you'll get little moments where you're like, okay, Charlie, I see you. It might be here on campus. It might be in quiet moments of the night, but he's here and he's more alive than ever. And he is, he's going to guide us. And we just have to remain humble. But again, what I told the team was, I will fight like hell to make sure that all of you have a job here. I don't want anyone to think their job's in jeopardy, because your family, if you choose to leave, that's different. I never will. And I promise you, I will make sure that I never allow a point to where you have to leave because we cannot financially afford you.
She sounded more sad when she was talking about people possibly losing their jobs than she did when she was talking about him. Now we're going to go to another part here. This is why I say, I don't know. This girl has been an actress. We have seen it before. We fast forward to this part here, which I also thought was pretty interesting. Again, on September 16th, barely a week after her husband was publicly assassinated, Erika Kirk records this upbeat message to all TPUSA staff. So listen to what she says here. This is kind of weird as well.
Had private conversations with him. I want you all to hold on to those. And I want you all to remember those so deeply. I want you to journal about them. I want you to be able to tell your kids about them. I want you to put those in your heart as why you're still here with them to those. And I want you all to remember those so deeply. I want you to journal about them. I want you to be able to tell your kids about them. I want you to put those in your heart as why you're still here with the Turning Point USA family, because that's what we want. And
so she's telling them that she wants them to journal. Again, these are employees, right? So she wants them to journal, I guess, the thoughts or whatever that they had about Charlie Kirk. It's kind of weird.
I said to our small group after whatever day that was that I did the thing on TV, how many days are still around Good Friday. I told the team, I said, Turning Point USA will continue like my husband always wanted, and it'll be bigger than ever. And we're going to honor him by doing that. We're going to stay humble. We're going to work hard because that's what he would want. And we're going to just make it grow. And we're going to keep our eyes fixed on heaven. And, you know, like even Stacey said, he's gonna find ways to speak to us.
Okay,
and
we
he's
saw
going to
that
speak.
part.
And he's more alive than ever. And he is, he's going to guide us. And we just have to remain humble. But again, what I told the team was, I will fight like hell to make sure that all of you have a job here.
See what I mean? She's more sympathetic about the whole job situation than she was. You know, she sounds more sad about that than like the death of her husband is kind of weird. Let me fast forward this part here.
It's just, I'm trying not to say that he's obviously celebrating in heaven amongst so many things, but he's so proud of all of you. And he's so proud of all of you for keeping this mission alive. And he knows that you can do it. That's why you're hired. And he knows that you will be able to carry the torch. And he knows that you're going to do a great job. And you're going to be able to, even though days are going to be tough, honestly, the nights are the hardest.
So this is a great question. Reed said, did she say all of this before the mass firings? Right, because there's a number of people that have been fired. She said this on September 16th. So that should have been before, at least before I started hearing about those firings.
Mornings are pretty raw too. But just what I've noticed these past several days is if I didn't have the family, the Turning Point USA family with me, all of you, I would be a disaster. I mean, I would be in fetal position 24/7. But the fact that we have a continued mission to look forward to, and we have our family, it's everything. And some of you, this is your chosen family. And just rely and lean on each other. That's huge. Leaning on each other is huge because all of you were together prior to this and we'll be together after this. And everything, and I told Justin, it's going to be something where everything before September 10th, any email you were working on, any project you were working on, it's not that it's irrelevant now. It's just things have changed.
So this whole thing where she continues to refer to TPUSA as family, and okay, I get it. People might consider, their work people like second family or whatever, something like that. But I look at it a little bit differently. It's almost as if this really was what she was assigned to do, that really is her family, is Turning Point USA. And Charlie was the means for her to get in there, to get into the door. Because like I said, she seems more sad about them than she does about him. But like I said, she's also an actress, as we all know. And then another TPUSA employee came forward. You guys got to hear this one. His name is Matthew. He cites an audio recording where a former Arizona House Representative, Liz Harris, alleges that TPUSA is Mossad. Listen to this.
There was a conversation that I had with Liz Harris, who used to be part of the Arizona House of Representatives.
Yeah, we know Liz.
Yep. I had a conversation with her. I have it recorded too, because in Arizona, you can record conversations. She literally said to me, Turning Point's Mossad. Tyler Boyer is Mossad. They're all neocons.
Liz Harris told you this?
Liz Harris told me this. I have the recording.
She told you Tyler Boyer was Mossad?
Yep.
I will pause this so you guys can see it. So it says here with her and her ex-boyfriend, I believe they both used Charlie to become famous, rich, and eventually destroy him. Tyler then brings Erika in, and the rest is history. Can I see a little bit before that message? Let me see. Right here. Bing, ding, 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 ding. Tyler already knew Erika back in 2016. They were pictured together at a Trump rally with her and her ex-boyfriend. What I tell you guys, I believe they both used Charlie to become famous, rich, and to eventually destroy him. Tyler then brings Erika in, and the rest is history. Tyler, ? I think she is Mossad. I can't see this full message, but Ezelment, shell company stuff last time. Tyler is for sure compromised all the way. The fact that Tyler pulled you into his office and said he was a Zionist is nuts to me. So here we have someone who was a representative in the Arizona state legislature who is saying that Arizona House Representative Liz Harris, who is saying that she believes that TPUSA is Mossad. And she brought up the same thing that many of us, you guys, we talked about this on Call-In as well, is that she had already, this is the part of the story that many weren't telling, was that Erika Kirk was already at a Trump rally in 2016. She was already making her way over to that side with the guy that she was dating at that point in time. That must have been JT, either JT or Cabot Phillips. Don't know. Either way, it almost seems like this was an arrangement. It seems like this marriage, which may not have been that way for Charlie, but it almost seems like this marriage was an arrangement. Just like Hillary and Bill Clinton. That was also an arrangement. It was a business relationship. They were put together for a reason. Now, look at this part, because they mentioned Tyler Bower. Sword Truth said here, Tyler Bower caught gaslighting everyone over the nearly $250 million Turning Point USA has brought in since Charlie Kirk was killed. Look at this. Let me see if I can read this to you guys. So this is Ada Nestor. Serious question for Tyler. What was your actual end of year fundraising goal? Because sending this out looks pretty wild when credible estimates suggest you raised over $500 million between September and December alone. If that number is wrong, correct it. Goes on here. And I have it muted because there's music that plays here, but I just wanted to read it to you. Tyler from Turning Point Pack here. I just need you to read this. It'll take 90 seconds. So that's one of those ads. You guys know how that goes. Turning Point Pack, the most critical year in American political history. So it's one of those. So it looks like he's asking for more money. And it goes on to say, this is Tyler here. Turning Point USA, a C3, raises money from a nonpartisan, nonprofit work that is done on campuses across America. They are growing rapidly to meet the demand, especially since hundreds of thousands of students signed up to be more involved with conservative movement. This is not the same organization as Turning Point Action or Turning Point PAC. political organizations that are not tax deductible when you donate. Goes on to say it is not based in any fact that Turning Point was raised $500 million and certainly nowhere near accurate for the political organizations. You know what? Someone need to look into some of these 501c3s, because I don't believe all of these organizations that have that 501c3 designation are behaving in the way that they're supposed to. All these different groups, Turning Point PAC, Turning Point Action, Turning Point Faith, all these separate groups, so that some can be a 501c3 and others can be a C4 so that they can take other type of donations. That's another thing that needs to get the lid blown all the way the fuck off. Some of these 501c3s, that needs to be looked into. It goes on to say here, let's go a little bit further. Ada goes on here and says, didn't this come from you, Tyler? Or at least that is the impression you would like to leave with those less knowledgeable on how these things work, right? This isn't just a branding dodge anymore. It is worse. Money is moving between TPUSA, Turning Point Action, and affiliated vehicles. Pretending they exist in sealed compartments is flatly dishonest. You don't get to say separate organizations while funds, donors, vendors, infrastructure, and leadership overlap and money flows between them. That's not separation, that's routing. Donors do not experience them as separate worlds. They experience one brand, one leadership circle, one fundraising list, one donor ecosystem. And then after September 10th, public reporting shows donations surge dramatically. A single Mar-a-Lago fundraiser was publicly reported at roughly 100 million. So no, this isn't about confusing a C3 with a PAC. It is about an integrated machine using multiple entities to move and deploy money. If $500 million is wrong, go forward here, prove it. Exaggerated, maybe, alleged, and not yet confirmed, yes. Fabricated, no. So the money is funny. The money is funny. And that does sound like routing. Now, when we go back to this Liz Harris claim, as you'll see here, you can hear it from her. Here's the audio just to show you that that guy is not making that up. Listen to this.
When we look at Turning Point and we look at all of this, I do see Mossad. I see there again. There's so many other things where I'm connecting dots. I think Alex Jones is controlled by them. Charlie Kirk's controlled by them. Steve Bannon. I can't believe nobody's killed me. I really can't. I have no idea why.
Because God is protecting right now. There's a lot of people that are surprised are not dead right now, but nobody gets to do anything unless God gives it permission.
And I'm with you, Liz. I mean, I've already had people show up to my door from what I've exposed, but I'm still alive. We're meant to be alive.
So that was the audio from Arizona RNC committee woman Liz Harris. And what was interesting is she said she believed Alex Jones is controlled by them, and she believes also Steve Bannon is controlled by them. Honestly, I think she might be right about that too. All hell has really broke loose. Now, people ask, how could this have happened? How could we get to this point where all of this money was exchanging different hands, this routing, as Ada called it there? How could all of that had happened and Charlie Kirk didn't see it? Maybe he was starting to see these things. Maybe it's not just the Israel thing. Maybe that's another reason why they felt he had to go. Maybe he was starting to look at the money a little bit. And also, never underestimate the power of a woman. Listen to what this girl said here about how people can be deceived.
So one of my sisters in Christ just sent me a message talking about her friend, and she was saying that, oh, Charlie, do you think he was so stupid to be deceived? Do you think that he was so dumb to be deceived by a woman? People are deceived by love. And I think love is almost meant to blind you to a certain extent because it makes you trust that person. See, we love the Lord. We walk blindly almost with the Lord because we're trusting that he's going to direct us in every step. So when it comes down to a woman or a man being in love with a woman, the Bible only warns about a woman. I need you to keep note, especially young men. The Bible only warns about a woman, a deceptive woman, that her footsteps take hold on hell. The Bible talks about that. So could Charlie have been deceived? Obviously he was. I saw a comment in one of my other videos that said that he texted his sister and said, I don't know this person, referring to Erika, saying, I don't think I know her. You can be deceived, young man. It happens all the time.
That part right there. The part about the text message, I don't think I know this person.
Her footsteps take hold on hell. The Bible talks about that. So could Charlie have been deceived? Obviously he was. I saw a comment in one of my other videos that said that he texted his sister and said, I don't know this person, referring to Erika, saying, I don't think I know her.
I wonder if that happened. I don't know this person. I don't think I know her. Here's what I know and what I noticed and I brought up to you guys as well. Man with the long last name said it. She really did look happier with JT. She did. She looked really happy with him. I don't know where that guy is today, but she looked really happy with him. She looked happy with Cabot Phillips. Yeah. But it's just weird. Like the way she talks and she said people grieve differently. But now that we've seen those videos and that audio that's been leaked right after he was killed, and that was the way that she responded. Look at the merch that we sold. Look at the OJs had this song called Money, 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 Money. Some people got to have it. Yeah. It was just weird. It was like, yeah, my husband was just, shot in the neck in front of everybody and everything. But about that merch, about those voters, the voter registration, all those things. So it's just really weird that would be your focus at that point in time. And that's why I said it seems like to me that this was another assignment. This probably, let me say allegedly, because they sending out notices to people. It seems like to me this could have been another assignment for Erika. Just like that dating reality show she was on, just like the audition for Amazing Race, just like all these other things that she did, I think maybe this could have just been another assignment. All right, ladies and gents, that is it for me tonight. A big announcement, guys, just to update you. I am not live Sunday. I am doing another in-person screening of my documentary. It's a part of this whole Red Line Narratives in Boston on Sunday. So this is like an all-day event. So I will not be live this Sunday. And then the following Sunday, so it's going to be a minute before we get back to the 5 o'clock Sunday show. Then the following Sunday, I know a lot of you are going to be watching the Super Bowl. So I won't be live at 5 o'clock the following Sunday either. But then once we get past that Super Bowl Sunday, that 5 o'clock time for Sunday live shows will be back. All right. Okay. Eric's going to come in and he's going to read the rest of the super chats and close out the show.
All right. So there's a game coming up. A little while yet.
Yeah.
I do want to show you one super chat that somebody wrote you can check out.
Oh, Jerry. Sabby, sorry I missed your mutual aid workshop. Got called into work Saturday. Going to try to catch the next one. Love everything you do on the show. Free Palestine. Oh, thank you. Thanks. All right.
All right. And I think on that note, we'll let you go on with your night and I'll take it from here to close it out.
Deuces. Bye, guys.
Right.
Have a good night.
All right. So I think you'll see Sabby live. I think the next live show will be next Tuesday, but in the meantime, you can be seeing that there'll be clips and things like that coming up. That'll always be posted. So do keep an eye on the channel and make sure you're signed up to the Substack, because you get updates on there and when clips are being posted and when the Sabby show is going live. So do keep up with that. The one thing I wanted to say as kind of a through line with all the stories tonight is that, it's going to be this kind of chaos and these kind of troubles. When you connect the dots, right? You're going to come back to government, right? As long as we have a government that works for the corporate establishment, billionaire class, and their interests instead of ours, then we're going to have this chaos. We're going to have, all this, I don't know how to you put it, badness, this stuff, whether it's, even with the story with the food, right? We want to know whether or not our food is healthy for us. Our food is what's in there, dangerous, and it's just in there because it's cheaper and it helps them make it cheaper and make it last longer, but it's really dangerous for us. Or are these ingredients actually, you got to put something in the food, right? So, which ones are okay, which ones are not. Somebody in the chat during that story, noted how the FDA and government agencies are captured and corrupt. So, how do we fix that, right? What do we do about it? Well, you have to decorrupt the government. Whether if you're talking about like a foreign policy, right, with the Iran story, our foreign policy is a war policy. Why is it a war policy? Because war is profitable, like Smedley Butler said. War is a racket. So, you have those connections. Even, things like immigration and all these kind of issues get corrupted and get messed up as long as our government works for the billionaires and doesn't work for us. So the key, and if you look at 11demands.org, like you'll see here on the, it's tricky to point at it while you're on camera. There we go. 11demands.org we need a mass movement based on clear demands with a strong focus on corruption. If you go to 11demands.org, you'll see that. And let's think about and work on how we can make that happen. I think step one is just getting that message out there and trying to see how many people we can get on the same page and get to the next step of what we do about all this. But it's going to need some kind of movement. And it's going to need numbers. All right. Super chats. We got some super chats in the queue. Let's check that out. Actually, let me start with this one on Rumble. So this goes back to the story, the food story that was on here earlier. Let me see if I can get this on here the right way. Here we go. All right. Thanks for the Rumble rant from Mary Ploppins. I like that name. Who says, they have colorized food. It is how the empire has always controlled people. Adding poisons to food is deliberate, not just for cost, but to weaken people. Shop with local farms whenever possible. All right. Thanks for that, Rumble rant. And like I said, you can connect those dots back to corruption. And yeah, I knew we had at least one more hiding in here. Thanks also for this one. From the same Mary Poppins, who says the conventional food industry lobbied to dilute organic standards so that they could get in on it without doing the actual work. Yep, that sounds about right. And that's what happens when you have a corrupt government where money talks and controls everything. So that's it also gets into things like the solutions, it gets into attacking the corruption. If you look at the number one on the list of 11 demands, it's all about how we deal with things like money equals speech, corruptions or people. It's about the solutions to that. So, I do think all these things get connected if you really look close at it and how things actually work. Thanks for the super chat on the YouTubes from Mr. Roger Meadows, who says, I've been checking ingredients for decades. And thanks for this one, Roger. Says Subway got caught using yoga mat in their bread. All right, Roger, sounds tasty. And thanks, Roger, for this one. He also says blue number 1, yellow number 5, red number 40 are all petroleum based. Thanks for those. And thanks for this super chat from Logically Dashing, who I know is David. Who says, many of these foods are under BDS, so no big loss. All right, I think he's making kind of the connection between the foods and the ones to avoid and the whole BDS. So there you go. Thanks for the super chat. Shell Bell says, love your show. Keep seeking truth and God bless. And thank you. And also from David, who also says, Americans eat like they have universal health care. There you go. But, making the connections again, it's people don't have good choices, especially if you don't have a lot of money to spend, on food. It gets really, gets hard to eat healthily. So, these are big problems. These are systemic problems, and they're going to need systemic fixes. And a few more here in the queue as we close out. Thanks to the super chat, Salt and Pepper Natural, who says, if you can't grow enough food, I recommend ordering food from Azure Standard. All right, thanks for that. And shout out to Kevin Wayne for this super chat, who says, we all know the oligarchical class parlays what they can into dollars or votes. Quote, family equals mafia. The firings directly after Kirk's, he says firings happened directly after Kirk's death, 9/11/25. That wouldn't surprise me. They certainly don't seem to run it as a family over there. And thanks for the super chat, Mocracy, who says, did you see Tatum defend ICE shootings on Pierce? No, we haven't seen that, but we'll have to keep an eye out for that one. Oh, and speaking of Pierce Morgan, I did notice shortly before we came on air on old Twitter X, there was, I noticed posts about Max Blumenthal was on Pierce Morgan, really handing it to, I don't remember his name, but there's a guy they have on there who was a former IDF guy, and Max basically called him out as a war criminal. It's worth a look. And thanks for the super chat, friend of the show here, all one same, who says, Earth's Greatest Enemy by Abby Martin. See it, have her on. Yeah, we wouldn't mind having Abby Martin on. To make note of that. Thanks, all one. And finally, here in the queue, thanks to Tulipy, I have that right, for the super sticker. Appreciate that. Appreciate you. All right, that's going to do it for us here tonight. Like I said, keep an eye out for clips, and the next show would be should be next Tuesday at 7 p.m. But in the meantime, we got clips, and make sure you're on the Substack. Remember, you're 11demands.org. And we will see you next time. Until then, you do have a good night. Keep up the fight. And thanks, everyone. See you next time.